Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. I am your griot. I'm here to tell you stories. And it's, what time is it? 1:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are. Just checking in. For some reason, the things I do, the shows I do on this, don't go down on my site. And they go into my videos in my editing suite, but not up there, and I haven't figured out how to move them. So one day I will. Let's see. So I'm going to call up folks who are old friends and see how they're doing. Boo, 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 boo. Hey, Lindsay, I can't wait to watch the few we missed. Yep. Once I figure it out, once I get down the hill, I'm going to go visit my provider and say, so why doesn't my phone let me do this? And they'll be able to tell me. Boop, boop.
Oh, it's reached David.
Okay, and so he's not around. Let's try this David. I know a lot of Davids. David has been many a friend to me. Let's do this. Do.
Mr. Sir.
Hey, buddy, I'm live on the old YouTube. You want to be part of the show?
No, I'm at the hospital helping some people with translation.
Oh, whoa. Then you do that. And
Yeah, so the lady had a what do you call that, spine surgery. So I'm helping her with that.
oh, good.
I'll be out in about hour and a half max. So if you're still there, I'll join the crowd.
Okay, yeah. When you're free, I'll probably still be talking. You know me. Okay, buddy. Later. So everyone seems to be busy. He's an old friend. He's from Yugoslavia, and he wasn't part, but he knows the whole Yugoslavian story. And he moved to Chicago before the war, and I knew him. I met him at rainbow gatherings, so I was going to have him tell rainbow stories. My other David I called, he was one of my New York buddies, and I was going to have him tell New York stories. But if I keep talking long enough, I'll call him back and see what they're up to. So, Lindsay, why don't you tell us? Oh, there's Sister online. Boop, 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 boop. So, Lynn, is that Russian a bot? I think so. So, goodbye, Mr. Bot. After the Headless Horseman's episode, I don't give anyone a second chance. If I don't see your energy, if I can't see that you're a human being who might be righteous to talk to, I say, see you later, alligator. Let's try somebody else. Let's see. Ba. Why don't we try our good friend Anthony? Let's see if he answers the phone. Oh no, that's Allie. Let's see. Let's try Anthony. No. Boo, boo. You can tell this a European call. Their ringtone is different. Do, do. Boop, boop. Everyone's busy. Not busy, but doing something. Listen to the chat you had with Scene, I think, reading out of James' dream email. It's a great episode. Yep, James was great. Oh, here he is. Ba, ba, ba. There you are. Hey there, Slim.
How you doing?
I'm on live chat, and you are right here with us.
Wow, I was just listening to, you were just telling a story of, so I'm just in the middle of typing too. But I've just been listening to like the past 2 hours where you did that guided meditation, like 4 days ago. I'm not sure when.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days ago.
Going into state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just lying in my bed before this. I was leaving my body. It was a really amazing meditation.
Isn't that beautiful that you can go back and listen to it as much as you want?
Yeah, and I thought about that. I will do, because I know you've done it so many times already. So it's just an infinite source of wisdom and joy out.
Yeah, well, that was a good one. Because I could feel all of your energies, and you were responding on there, and I felt other people's energy as they listened to it, like you did today. So 2022 is a very interesting year. I see great. There's going to be, you thought 2000, from 2015 until now has been really a wild, crazy ride. From here on in, it's going to be even crazier. But people have been shown that all of what they used to believe is not real, and they're having to take the red pill of the matrix and start to decide for themselves, right? Which is a great opportunity to bring forth, great conscious realizations of intent.
Conscious intent, I am. Conscious intent, I am.
Yeah. So, what do you think about all this? What's your, because, my stream, I have a ton of people who are from all over the place, like, oh, we have to get shot. Every shot counts, so blah, blah, blah. And all those fascists, blah, blah, blah. And that separation is getting less and less. More and more people are coming to realize that, no, I'm just being played, So what are you seeing from your neck of the woods?
Well, the UK is in a pretty good place at the moment. I mean, I think we're one of the only countries we've given up all of the draconian mandates and everything over here. So I'm feeling grateful that we're not in the EU or anything like that anymore, because it's not looking too good for the rest of Europe, I think. And I've told you a million times I'm wanting to head over to North America, and it's like the US and Canada still figuring things out, but it is looking really positive in general, I think. I mean, I think we're in for a wild ride. I was just talking to another friend today who keeps bringing up this year 2027, like until then things are going to be pretty wild. So I don't know if you know anything about that number.
Oh, yes.
How long this whole thing's going to last.
Actually, this whole thing's going to last in 2034.
Okay.
And the window, I mean, from today until 2027, if people stand up for who they really are, who have, start going conscious intent I am, and having one, and also having a conscious awareness of their 20 and their 360, meaning right where they are, so they can be in perfect timing and step, right where they need to be, my life has been one of, people go, how can he do all this stuff? What's all this stuff, right? So it's just that I was taught early in my life, like, from the time I was like 2 years old, because I didn't talk a lot and I listened, and my grandma really reinforced that with love and unconditional understanding and expression. She treated me like a grown up. It was just her and me in her apartment. And she walked me all around New York, 100 blocks every day just to tire me out. So when we got home, I would go to sleep and wouldn't bother her. And we saw every kind of person, every kind of neighborhood, every kind of everything. And I got that perspective that it's not siloed, that we're all our relations. And I've kept that. And so I've stepped into many great things. And, I've talked to a lot of people, they go, oh man, why are you so poor? Why don't you have a lot of money? Because I spent it. And also I would make, right. I would make, I was sick from 2014 on. Haven't really worked at what I could make money at, because a lot of the things in my consulting business, I've been replaced by an app.
Or a Russian commie bot.
Yes, it's like unfreaking believable. And everyone says, well, Al, you did a great job. You always did your best and you fixed it. But that was great. But now we realize fixing it wasn't the best, because now the app just takes care of the problem right there, so we can get them to sign and get the check. But 6 months later, they argue and we have to do it all over again. And then the app fixes that. But it never did what you did, was you fixed it for good. And now we make more money by having more chaos. And that is what we're seeing in the world in general. And that has a very short life expectancy. And you look at through history, every empire has done exactly what we're doing right now. They built an empire. They then kind of expanded that empire into other realms. Like you take, Greece became Rome. Rome was Rome, and then the Holy Roman Empire, and it went into Africa, and it went into England and Ireland. And I mean, the people who are the English, aristocrats, basically are Romans. Like the Bath.
Yeah.
How far are you from Bath? Bath, England.
We nearly went. My parents and we nearly went there a few weeks ago. But no, I'm kind of at the opposite end of England. But I should go there.
But you know what I'm talking about? All over England, there's all kinds of Roman stuff.
Yeah. Well, I told you I grew up in a Roman place. There was Roman fortresses around me.
Oh, where?
So
tell the cadre.
I grew up in North Yorkshire. There was so we were quite near Hadrian's Wall, and then just like a few miles from me, there was like an actual like a villa, like a Roman villa townhouse with mosaics on the floor and stuff like that. But yeah, I was kind of the northern frontier, where the Picts and the guys wearing skirts and blue tattoos were raiding.
And so Ireland, Northern Ireland, is like 15 miles to the coast of Great Britain / Scotland, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that until you told me.
And that's why, it was so easy for England to conquer, but it wasn't. They said, oh, look, it says 15, and they got all these trees. England, the Romans had cut down all the English trees, so they were heading to Ireland. And the Irish, the bards and the druids kept the Romans at bay until St. Patrick. St. Patrick was the guy who got, he drove the snakes out of Ireland. The snakes he drove out were the crones and the druids and the bards.
Yeah.
And one of our cadres sent me this video of an Irish guy and another Irish guy, and they were kind of dressed up in costumes. And you know how in America we have Civil War reenactments, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, these guys were like dressed up like it. And this one guy's house, he had a really beautiful kind of old house, and he was kind of near Limerick, and he was obviously a scholastic, and they were talking about artifacts. right? And saying, oh, this story, this story. But they never told a story. They just talked about the artifacts and what X, Y, and Z Scholastic had said about the artifacts. Now, it was somewhat interesting, but it was totally Scholastic. And these guys were as Irish as you could get, but they were English. They were Romans, right? And that's still there today. And that's why, the whole thing with Northern Ireland goes all the way back to Rome and that whole conquering mentality. And it's all coming to a head right now, the next 10 years. And you can see, did you ever see the movie Wag the Dog?
No.
It was in the 80s and it was 90s. And it was just after we went into Iraq. And we went into Iraq, the excuse was Saddam went into Kuwait. But Kuwait used to be part, when Saddam was, fearless leader, the English and a few other entities, Saudi Arabia, just sliced off Kuwait. And Saddam hadn't really got his legs on, so he let him do it. And then he went, 15, 16 years later, he goes to April Glaspie, who is an American CIA / diplomat there, and said, hey, listen, I'm going to go take Kuwait back. Does America mind if I do that? And she said, oh, no, you can do it. This is your, go. It was part of Iraq, so go take it. No problem. Well, as soon as he did he was Adolf Hitler, right? And that girl who went in front of the United Nations and cried about seeing, babies thrown on the ground and the Iraqis taking all the hospital equipment.
Yeah.
She was in New York. She was going to theater school. She was a diplomat's daughter. She wasn't there. And she hadn't been in Kuwait or Iraq since she was like 10. And the same thing when we went into Iraq again, the yellow cake and all of that.
The little Debbie's,
yes,
McDonald's, and the whole 9 yards.
And the whole 9 yards. So we're doing it again with Russia and the Ukraine, And it's coming straight from Obama was the guy who started, Georgie Porgy, 43. He was working with Russia because he wanted to go bomb the shit out of, the Mideast. And he kind of needed Russia's tacit approval. So, whatever they did, it wasn't too bad. And it wasn't until Obama came in that Obama said, we are going to force the Ukraine to become part of the EU, and the NATO will be right on their border. Well, the Russian border with Ukraine is quite long, like over 1,000 miles, or I'm not quite sure exactly, but it's the longest border. And back when Russia fell with Mikhail Gorbachev, we made a deal that we wouldn't make Poland, we wouldn't make all the other small Baltic states go EU / NATO. And by doing that, it forced all those countries to buy American weapons so they could be on par with NATO. And that's why they did it. They made trillions of dollars. That, Lockheed, General Motors, Boeing, all those guys, Grumman, Marietta, all of those guys, it's ever so. And now that they don't have a war going on in, Iraq and Afghanistan, they are looking for a new war. And so is Russia in kind of a way. But if they kind of do a dance like that, it'd be so easy to make a mistake, And a lot of people in a lot of places want a nuclear war because that would put us back into another dark age. And the Mr. Globaloni could have 1984, George Orwell's, and the other guy,
that that's gonna happen though, did you?
Well, it's seemingly no, because in the last X amount of years, we should have blown ourselves away 60 times. I mean, that's why I became I worked for the corporate state for 10 years because I had been very involved in the UN and a lot of other entities with the no nukes campaign, to, let's get rid of these nuclear weapons. And, we started to do that. Reagan started to do that. And then Bushy boy turned it around. Bushy 41 turned it around. And then Bill Clinton doubled down on it like nobody's business. Right. And now, and then after, him, Georgie Porgy got in, and on the sly. I mean, the whole Iraq, Afghanistan, Arab Spring thing was just a, hey, look, a 3-card Monte, look over here, while they were doing all this other shit. And so what do you feel? So Europe is going nuts. I mean, France, what not Sarkozy, but Moron or whatever his name is. I mean, and Germany, Germany is the strongest economic entity in Europe. But if they don't get that pipeline, they are going to fall down. Because they're people, because Italy and Greece and who's the other guy who's the most Arab country in NATO and the EU? Turkey. They want to make their own little thing, right? And their combined economy, if they make a little nest, would be the strongest in Europe. And that's when everything starts to fall apart. People start going after, just like what's happening in America, kind of what happened in England. I mean, the same kind of thing happened in your country. You stopped being Englanders, and then you all had these different silos to be in. Brexit people, non-Brexit people, Scottish folk, non-Scottish, it's like.
Yeah.
So what are you feeling? You're there on the ground. I'm just looking across from the pond.
Yeah, well, like I said, and I think England has this charm. Maybe it's always had this fairy tale-like quality that it always seems to kind of be protected. Like, when I think about England, I think of like jolly kind of people going to the pub, having a pint, and just kind of being merry. And whenever I go to England, it's better in a lot of ways. Like, they have more organic stuff. They're more connected to the land, but in the same token, there's more of a seriousness and psychological trauma, I feel, for Europeans in general. So, I mean, I agree with what you've been saying. I think in general, Europe is due for, some sort of reckoning. I don't exactly know what that is, but I agree, like France and Italy, from what I hear about, is they're in pretty rough shape, and, the whole global economy, right? But in England, everything's kind of business as usual here. But that's kind of my take. I can't really give you so much more in detail.
So, where are you in central England, northern England? Are you near Scotland? Are you near the coast? Or near London?
I'm like 2 hours from Scotland.
Right.
So I'm pretty northern, and at the east side, which is the dry side, which is quite good. We've just had like 2 weeks of sunshine, which is not too common.
Yeah, right.
But that's probably, because I'm on the east side. Like, if you're on the west coast, they get 4 times as much rain over there. So
but
that's right, near York.
So are you near the North Sea or the Atlantic?
Yeah, the North Sea. So I'm because we got such windy roads, it takes like 45 minutes to get to the sea, like the North Sea, but it is really close, just maybe 20 miles or something.
Right, as the bird flies, it's 20 miles. So are you, where you are, is that the colder side of England, or it's the colder side, right? The North Sea side is the colder side.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It is.
Because in Ireland, the North Sea side is like, it's dank, it's more dreary than England.
Yeah.
But the West Coast is like Florida, because the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, I heard you talking about that, and I heard you I think it was today actually. You talking about this guy that you met somewhere, talking about St. Patrick,
right?
And talking about pyramids in Ireland or something. I'm not sure if you finished that story about pyramids and stuff, but I'd love to hear.
Okay,
what kind of things you found in the pre-EU Ireland.
Right,
days.
exactly. Between 1969 and 1988. I went to Ireland maybe 8 times, and about 6 of those times I stayed there for more than a year, right? So I was more than a tourist. And the first time I went was with my parents, and I had just gotten thrown out of the seminary, and they had no place, and they had started really going to Europe a lot. And so they took me just because they had no place else to put me. And so I sat in the back of the car and just kind of watched. And I had, Ireland's kind of a pretty moist place. And my croup and my pneumonia could come in anytime, even though I had stayed it off. At 10, I had this experience where that's it. I'm never getting sick again. But I could still get the croup. And Benylin was my mom's go-to thing to give. She'd buy me a bottle and I would just sip it all day long. Well, she went in and bought me a bottle, and it had codeine in it, right? And I don't think she just asked for a bottle of Benadryl or Benylin, and it had codeine, and it was 30% codeine. So I drank that bottle in about an hour, and boy, was I ever fucking stoned, because right? And so for the rest of the 3 weeks that we were there, she kept, buying me, I kept going, uh-oh, Ray, stop over this pharmacy. And she got 2 or 3 bottles and just hand them to me. And she never read, or maybe she did saw that there were codeine in it and would shut me up. And so, I was like, yes, I'm going to kill you. Right? So I was just a puddle in the back seat lying down. And I remember waking up and I had fallen off the seat and was down in the, where the feet rest in the back seat. And my father was just throwing. I woke up because he threw a beer can and it hit me on the head and I kind of woke up and I was still pretty stoned. But
you're worse than a dog.
Yes. So we're going all over, and I'd always wake up when they were fighting. Because my mom, no, we go this way. Because she was reading the map, my dad, in the Air Force, so he knows how to go wherever he's going. And he was pretty good at that. And I would just be there tripping my brains out on codeine, listening to argue, and then they'd want to have sex. Because that was kind of part of their sex thing. And I'd be in the back seat. And, is he asleep? Is he asleep? And I woke up once. And my parents are in their 50s and were on the side of the highway, but in Ireland at that time, highways were like little lanes. They didn't quite realize it was a highway. And my dad has my mom bent over the boot of the car, and he's the car is rocking. I wake up, I kind of look up, and there's my dad pounding my mom. Harder, 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 and so. And I kind of knew that about my parents because, I slept on the sunroom and all the kids were upstairs. I could hear my parents. And that's why they had 6 kids, meaning they were fucking all the time. You don't have 6 kids if you're not fucking all the time, So, or you either can't count or you're really unlucky, one or the other. Or you're pounding all the time. So anyway, it was quite an interesting time. So we pulled into Dublin, and my dad, always had to have the best hotel, blah, 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 right? And I didn't realize it, but there was a conference of all the nuclear-powered and weaponed, England, France, United States, Israel was there, South Africa was there. And it was a super duper fancy place in Dublin. And they had a big conference center there. And so I went with my dad. And that was the first time I met, because I'd gone and seen a above ground nuclear test. And so it was.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Doctor Strangelove? You know,
No, I haven't.
Stanley Kubrick's movie. All you should all see that. That's quite the movie. Anyway, so it was just like that because they were all talking about nuclear war. Like it's no big deal. You know, it's like anyway.
Yeah.
They did that, and I met Werner von Braun and about 10 other Nazis. And you know, I had met these guys before, but I was at this. I'm sitting there, and the dinner, you know, thing they had with all the wives and stuff. Um, I was at that, and everyone's telling stories at table, and it was surreal because it was so obvious. And this is 1964 that there were no nation states. That this was a global country, and there were people from Russia at this, and they were, you know, everyone was discussing about what they had. So those guys, you know, if they're from Russia, they had to be, you know, at least spies, if not, you know, but they were part of planning. Oh, we're going to have a nuclear war. You take out this, we'll take out that. These are the people we want you to get rid of, and so that motif is still there. They're you know they spent $1 trillion
Yeah.
since the last years of Obama on modernizing our nuclear weapons. And the weapons they have made are super miniaturized and very powerful and they're basically a super duper version of a neutron weapon, meaning bomb goes off, it physically destroys, you know, quarter a square mile, but it doesn't leave radioactive isotopes. But with the blast, with the, you know, the big
Yeah.
flash,
The
it,
conquer.
right, it lets out an extraordinary amount of neutrons, which are very deadly, but they don't last. They kill people almost instantly, you know, just, you know, kill your immune system and everything else. And so these are weapons to be used on a small town or you know a bunch of, you know, 60,000 guys coming over the border. Boom, you kill everyone, but you don't, you know, leave that area a radioactive wasteland for the next 60 years. And you know that's what they've been spending their money on. And so, you know, some moron could think it's okay to use those. So a thing like the Ukraine could be the excuse for Russia, the United States, and everybody else who has these things to take out their own towns. Meaning Russia wouldn't nuke anything in America. The morons in America would do it and blame Russia or China, you know, because they're all part of the same show. So that is the potential. And that's kind of what they, you know, if they weren't trying to do something like that, they would have eased off on the Ukraine because there is no real issue there. You know, the EU doesn't want the Ukraine. And Russia back, you know, in 2015 15 or 14, they had this conference, and all of Europe said, you know, no, we stop at Ukraine. Ukraine's not going to be the EU. They're not going to be in NATO. What it is there's a line. Half of Ukraine that's close to Russia, all those people speak Russian. And everybody else, you know, towards the EU, you know, speak French, German,
Yeah.
Italian, whatever. And the economies, though they are integrated, the guys near the EU kind of, that's who they kind of trade, and the guys near Russia trade with Russia. And Putin put forth, I don't know if he went to that meeting, but he sent his rep and said, listen, let's just keep Ukraine, just as it is, without NATO in it, without them being the EU. And everyone who's on the EU side, just trade with the EU. Everyone on the Russian side, and we are going to pay off the Ukraine government, you know, in natural gas. We'll give them free natural gas. We're going to give them a lot of money to do their infrastructure that they want to do, that the World Bank is just going to like fleece them. We'll give them the money. We'll give them free natural gas. And let's everyone just make money, which was, you know, and Europe said, yeah, let's do it. Germany really said, yeah, let's do that. But Obama said no. and Obama forced the issue, and Obama started this whole thing off. And Obama is just a sock puppet. I knew Obama was a moron sock puppet. In America, ABC traditionally had this like news thing, the president's 100th day, and they would follow him around and see what he did on his 100th day and see what he accomplished, what meetings, what senators he's talking to, all that kind of stuff. And it started with Jack Kennedy. And so with Obama, the show opens up and he's in the room with everyone in his cabinet, right? And he's just sitting there, right? And everyone's talking, and the news guys there are taking pictures, and some news guys are asking questions, and he is not answering a single question. The guy, when they ask an economic question, the guy who's the treasury, he speaks. The guy who is this speaks, But Obama says nothing. He just looks like, oh boy, I'm here. He looks like little Lord Fauntleroy in his short pants. And the guy who's chief of staff goes, okay, news people out, everyone out. And so they go out and they close the door, like to have business. And the news people are roaming around and talking to people in the White House, who work in the offices and stuff. And about 3 hours later, they walk to see if those guys have come out of the conference room. And Obama's sitting outside in the hallway in a chair by himself, right? He doesn't even have a Secret Service guy next to him. He's just sitting there. And the news guys kind of come around him and say, oh, Mr. President, what are you doing out here? He goes, well, I made the big decision. And they said, and what was that, sir? Well, I decided that we're going to have cheeseburgers instead of hamburgers. And then after lunch, I sat out here. They told me to sit out here. And that's when I knew that was it. And after that, ABC has never done it again. They didn't do the 100 days with Donald, and they didn't do 100 days with Moron Boy. So, and so it's pretty obvious that they really want to do shit in America. It's just.
I think the only hope that we have is the extraterrestrials, and I think that they've been the reason why we haven't got into a thermonuclear war so far. I think there's been so many close calls, and I really think there's some guiding light in this universe.
The only problem with that,
that's just on the cusp of being made aware. I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see some real ET stuff disclosed publicly. So that's kind of where I always come from.
Well, okay.
It's going to be okay, but it's going to be a bumpy ride.
See, but that's the problem. It's the ETs that are going to land are going to be Steven Spielberg. Basically, ETs have been here forever. If you listen to Sitchin and those other guys, and that's okay. Yeah. You wanted to hear the stories about Ireland. So, I left off with me drinking bottles and bottles of Benadryl with codeine. And then, we end up in this really fancy hotel in Dublin. And for about 3 days, my parents were there. And then my dad says, listen, your mother and I are going to Rome to see the Pope. And my parents had their own, it was just them and the Pope. Nobody, even the president, president has to get squeezed in with the Pope. With a couple other politicians, it's a guy from England, a guy from France, but my parents saw the Pope themselves, right? Wow. Yeah, that's kind of juice my mom had in the Catholic Church. But my dad said, so you're not coming with us? I said, yeah, what am I going to do? He goes, well, you're going to stay here in Dublin. I've got you a room in this hotel, and you can, order food. They have room service. You're not to come to the bar or the restaurant or come up to this floor whatsoever. I said, oh, okay. And he gave me like 500 Irish pounds, and in 1964, 500 Irish pounds was like a lot of money, right? So he's going, because he goes, we might be a few days, we might be 2 weeks. We don't, we're going to see what happens. And I have other people to see. And I said, okay, that sounds fun. So they leave. I am put downstairs, like in the basement, and they have all these little rooms for the people who work there, because they have a lot of people who work there who aren't even Irish. They're from other parts of the Europe, and there are a lot of people who are Irish who, aren't from Dublin, or who are, from 40, 50, 100 miles away, and they can't come. So they had all these nice rooms. So I got a nice room. I got probably the nice, it had a sitting room, had a really nice bathroom, and a really nice bedroom. And the bedroom had a great view of the river, right? The sitting room had no windows whatsoever, but the bedroom, that was a big bedroom, had a desk in it so I could sit and write and think. And so, I was there, and I basically, they left. I walked around Dublin, got my where things were. I kept, and I went into a pub, and I was at 14, I was a kind of still a small kid, but I went in there, and the guy had this box. You want a cigarette? And I said, sure. And I got a Dunhill, and he lit it for me. He said, you want a drink? And I said, sure. What do you suggest? He goes, Paddy's Irish whiskey and a brown. I said, okay. So he gave me the big pint and an Irish whiskey that was quite big in itself. And I sat down, and I just was sipping it. And they had nice food, and I had a nice little late lunch. And I kind of went back to the hotel a little tipsy. And I stopped off at the pharmacy and bought myself a few bottles of Benadryl with codeine, and to the place. And I kind of conked out, and the phone rang, and it was room service. And they said, sir, do you want anything? Dinner is going to be over in an hour, and room service will be good for another 2 hours after that. So, at 10 o'clock, the dinner kind of room service is over. You can always get like a little snack, whatever you want. They just wanted to tell me. I said, okay, thanks. I said, yeah, what's on the dinner menu? So, I got roast and potato, the full thing, and a bottle of wine. You want some wine? I said, sure. And they said, do you want some whiskey? And I said, sure. So this, about 20 minutes later, knock, 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 open it up. Really amazing Irish girl walks in with a rolling tray of all kinds of stuff. Bottles of wine and bottles of whiskey, not like a glass, And she kind of puts the food on, gets a tablecloth, puts it on the table, and starts serving it on a plate and putting it there. And she's standing there like at semi-attention, like that she's my butler or maid. And I'm looking at her, and I go, don't you want some? She goes, yeah. Can I, we're not supposed to eat with it. So, come on, get another, you got a couple plates there. You serve yourself. So she did. And she said, I haven't eaten all day. I said, you're working in the kitchen? You haven't eaten all day? And we started talking about working in kitchens. I said, oh, I've been working in kitchens. And no, you always eat. And he said, no, we can't eat. They don't allow us to eat. I said, really? And she goes, yes, not till later in the evening when everyone's out of the dining room. They give us these little boxes, and we can bring them down to, and we put our food together. I said, oh, that's kind of, and I said, and she goes, you're the first guest to ever be down here with us. I said, really? And she goes, yep. I said, well, I'm glad I'm down here. I said, so what's everyone like? And she goes, oh, and she gets up. She goes out in the hall and says, hey, everyone, come on in here. So, about 20 people come in, and there's like 4 or 5 bottles of whiskey and about 4 or 5 bottles of wine. They crack it open. We start eating. A couple of folks go upstairs and get cheese and more booze and more this and more that. And we have one kick-ass party. Just wild, crazy.
And so your parents have paid for all of it?
Yes. So then they said, well, let's go out on the town. Let's go to, it's 11 o'clock. Let's go clubbing. So, Dublin was pretty hot in those. Anyway, so we had an amazing time. And all these young men and women, and mostly women, were in their 20s. I'm 14. So I wake up the next morning, and there's about, 10 people in there that are half naked. I am half naked. We're all like in a big puddle of bodies, and everyone kind of rolls around and kisses each other. It was like, okay, I haven't done this before. And, and this is Europe. Americans are so uptight about sex, not Europeans, not at fucking all. Not Irish either. They are off the hook. So that was my first introduction to Irish culture. you know? And so a couple of these folks were going to Trinity, and there's a couple other schools in Dublin too. And so I went and with them during the day to their classes, and that was interesting. And I started to get into the Irish Gaelic culture and how it really was one of the linchpins of planetary culture, because they were talking about how before when the Greeks were running around in skins, these guys had an advanced culture. They were like one of the remnants of Atlantis and other earlier cultures, and they had technology, and that it was buried all over Ireland. And this is when I first heard about pyramids in Ireland and things under the sea in Ireland, and and also England too had that energy. When they had trees, it's all about trees. The ancient trees are very powerful.
Yeah.
And England has like maybe 1% of their trees left. Of the old.
We have a lot of big trees,
but not
fortunately,
not
much forest.
And the dark forests is what I'm talking about. Yeah, and the big trees you have, they're only 100 or 200 years old. They're not like 1,200 years old, And there are trees.
Well, we do have some in the graveyards. There's some really ancient, like thousands of years
Yes.
old new trees.
Yes.
The tree of immortality.
Yes.
Like just in the village next to me where I walk often, there's some, 1,000 plus trees.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
But that was all of England.
But yeah, not like the pine trees that, not like the conifers that are over where you are in Scandinavia.
Right. But we have decimated our woods. Just, there was a number of photographers who shot the Civil War, and then after they kind of went out into the West before we really dug our heels in to destroy it. And, they documented the Indians before we killed them all, and what was around in California and Nevada, and guys were really serious, and they weren't. So, like I said, my friend sent me something similar to that, but it was faux. I mean, even though they were dressed up like bards, it was kind of ridiculous, right? And even though they were Irish, but they were like English Irish, scholastic guys. Anyway. But I got a real sensibility of what that was. And so there was my parents, left me there for almost a month, which was great. And I got to do all kinds. I mean, a lot of these folks were parts of theater companies and poetry companies. And we did all kinds of amazing performance stuff and just parties that, from like 15 on, that's what I was trying to inspire everyone to. And, so I moved out of my parents' house and their attention when I was, basically when I was 9, but really when I was 16. And I got my first apartment at 16. And that's what I tried to redo that, right? And like I said, when I was 7, my dad once said to me, "Who are you? You're not one of us. You don't belong here." Right? And luckily, I had grown up with my grandma, and I just looked at my dad as, what's fuck wrong with this moron? Instead of go, "Oh, my daddy just said that to me." Oh, I didn't, no, just didn't do it. So when they came back from wherever they were in Europe, and the guy goes to settle up the bill, I spent about almost $3,000. My father, he could afford that, and and he was like, but he's a real penny pincher. So he was like, nearly, he nearly had a stroke. And my mother looked at me and just shook her head. And she said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I sure did." Did you? And she goes, "Yes. I, spent a lot of time with the Pope. It was really good." And because my mom ruled the roost, my dad got over it. So, but when he saw that bill, I never forget the look on his face. It's like all the blood ran out of him. I mean, like I said, he had the money. It was no big deal, money wise, but he was such a penny pincher. And my mother was like, "Was it worth it?" I said, "Sure it was, Mom." And everybody was like, like patting me on the back when we were living. All the kids who were still working up there, and we were walking out, and we had lunch, and we had the best service. I mean, the people, the last meal we had there, the people who I was hanging out with and spending my dad's money on partying, And the other amazing thing was, the concierge said, I mean, why the bill got so big. He gave me a hotel, and this is the first time I saw this. It was called a bank card. It wasn't a credit card. It was a bank card, right? It was like a debit card, but I'd never seen one of those.
Yeah.
They didn't have them in America. And the hotel had one. And the concierge guy said, "Here, why don't you, here's this. Your parents still have this. They didn't take it, but it's, because you're here and the bill is open. Here, you take it." So that's how I mean, I didn't spend $3,000 in that hotel, but I spent it all over Dublin and we went other places, and I rented a car and I did stuff like that. And so, yeah, we had a good time. So when I came back in 69, when I went to theater school at Hofstra. I had 3 semesters, and I was already doing what you were supposed to be doing after you graduated. And I had already hung out at Juilliard, and I was, ME at the Vivian Beaumont Theater, and the lady who ran Hofstra, she ran the Vivian. So I worked for her, and and that's why I got to go to that school. Otherwise, I was going straight to Vietnam. And she said, "Nope." And so she pulled a lot of strings and got me in there. And then when I left that school, I kind of hid in plain sight for almost 2 years, meaning I never burnt my draft card. I never not responded to anything, but I was never there.
Yeah, I just heard you tell the story.
Right. Yeah. So I was like, all over the place. And then they finally caught up with me. And then they said, we don't trust you with a gun. And then they said, Marion sent me to Ireland. Her last gasp, but still keeping me in college so I wouldn't get drafted. She sent me to Ireland. So you've been to Ireland, you'll like this. You're going to gasp, but still keeping me in college so I wouldn't get drafted. She sent me to Ireland. So you've been to Ireland, you'll like this. You're going to go to the Celtic Irish school, the theater, Celtic, and I couldn't speak Gaelic and I didn't really know the bard tales. And so they sent me to Trinity to study that. And that's when I met Archie. And he was from Scotland. His whole family were earls and dukes, and he had big house, lots of money. He went to Oxford, and he met the old crone at Oxford, and so he became my mentor there. And earls and dukes, and he had big house, lots of money. He went to Oxford, and he met the old crone at Oxford, and so he became my mentor there, and he got me into the reserve library, and he told the old crone about me to her, and that's how I met her in the into the reserve library, and he told the old crone about me to her, and that's how I met her in the library. You heard that story, right?
Yeah.
Right, the garbage bag lady, and then
that is the classic.
Yep. And so, that's how I got there. And then she showed me all the shamanic Celtic magic, and because she really was it. And then after being there a month and a half, almost 2 months, I drank the 3rd pot without her, and the animals talked to me, and I tried to get them. She came back, and I was trying to get the animals in the van to take them to the pub, and the cow and the horse. I didn't want to go. I didn't. He forced me. But the sheep and the pigs, yeah, let's go. And so she told, she just looked at them and they all skulked away back to the barn. And then we went and we had dinner and she didn't say anything about it. But a couple of days later, because she had been talking, you should stay here. You just stay here. And I need an apprentice. You stay here. And that was the test. I mean, she left me all alone with the keys. I was just like Mickey Mouse. Remember Mickey Mouse and the Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Yeah.
And Enchanted or whatever that Disney movie was back in the 20s. That was me. So and she wasn't cross or mean. It was the opportunity of being her apprentice was just off the table. So, but I still went back there and saw her. But I went back and I spent another month with Archie, and we took a road trip up the West Coast. Actually, he came and got me. And that's what it was. He came and got me, and we traveled around the West Coast a good bit, and then we came back, and I got on the airplane and went back. And then I, kind of hidden. I no longer had my college deferment, and if I had stayed there, I would have stayed there. And what this show, 2022, what are you going to do with your life? This is the beginning of your first day. That's the name of the show, whatever it's called. And that was one of those things. If I had stayed with her, man, I would be a different guy. I'd still be there.
I would. Yeah. What would that owl have been like?
I would have been like Archie. I probably would have, because they ran that whole section of Trinity. So that I would have,
I probably would have bumped into you somewhere.
Yeah. I've been some, professor had a chair, done something, married the doctor in Glendore, all that. I'd be that Irish guy. And, but I didn't. I came back and did everything I did on this side. So so I had this amazing dream last night, right? And what it was, so you're not the only one I talk to on the phone, and there are a lot of people a lot more I talk to on the internet, and so I have a lot of tight, close friendships, and so there are a number of sisters there that so I can feel them when we're talking. I mean, even on the chat, I can feel you guys, and so anyway. So I had a dream about one of these sisters, and are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Some entity was calling me. It said Orvis. I have no idea who that was. Some alien creature was calling. So anyway, praise Jesus. So this dream was quite extraordinary because I was back in that hotel in Dublin, and all the different people that I could have had the fork on the road with, women and other things, opportunities, and they all kind of showed at that hotel. And I kept waking up because before I go to sleep, one of the things I do to keep myself in a good shape is I drink a bottle, the large bottles of water. So I bought a bunch before I came here, and now I'm here that has really good water. So I didn't throw those plastic bottles away. I just keep filling them up with water, and that way I can drink them wherever I am, right? Then I put Bragg's apple cider vinegar, like a thimble, into that, and that's what I drink, and that's one of the things that keeps me flowing and moving great. So I do that just like the Native Americans would do. They didn't have clocks or watches, so if they wanted to get up middle of the night to look at the stars or get up early in the morning to go hunting, they would drink water, so they'd have to wake up and take a piss. Now I do that, so before I go to, about an hour before I go to bed, I drink one of those bottles, and I have a couple by the side of the bed, and I will wake up, like in 2 hours, I will wake up, have to take a piss. and I will have gone through all of the alpha and the other dream states, and I'll go right back to sleep, and I'll go straight into dreams, right? So I did that last night. I woke up, take a piss. I had 4 bottles, and I pissed, drank a bottle, woke up 2 hours, pissed, drank, and each time I got up, take a piss, I had amazing frigging dream that stayed in my head, and the main theme was I was in that fancy hotel in Dublin, and each time different groups of people who I could have had you know gone off and done something else and not had this life, and I saw all the different lives I could have had, and that was quite an extraordinary dream. And so I woke up to tell the cadre, this is what you guys need to do now, because was talking from the winter solstice until January 16th. I'm saying the stars up there are really in amazing alignments, and you can really change your life as conscious intent and conscious awareness. Well, that still is. It's going to be until when did your friend say things are going to calm down?
2027.
Right, 2027. Between now and 2027, we can manipulate time and space with conscious intent and conscious awareness. A small group can. No matter, even the Mr. Bolognioni wants to have World War III, kill off a good portion of the human race and turn the rest of us into slaves, and in essence, put themselves into slavery. Have you gone and looked at the movie Zardos with Sean Connery, made in the late 70s or early 80s?
No, I've not heard of that.
Well, you should check it out. Can you go online while we talk?
Yeah, sure.
And look that up. See what you can find. Zardos.
Okay.
And if you can't find, I'm sure if you go on YouTube and say YouTube about Zardos, the movie.
Okay.
Found it?
What do you want to know about it?
So what year was it?
It was 74.
74.
Yeah.
With Sean Connery, right? And what is this description? Read what it says about it.
Okay. Like the plot?
Yeah, plot.
Okay. It depicts a post-apocalyptic world where barbarians worship a stone god called Zarda, who has the power to grant either death or eternal life, and who, in the opening scene, declares, "The good is good, the pianist is evil." In this future dystopia, while the brutals live in a wasteland, their overlords, the Eternals, luxuriate in the vortex, apparently as self-satisfied as landed gentry. The Eternals created Zardos to control the brutals, inciting them to mass murder. However, Zed, Sean Connery, refuses to accept the status quo and his place among the oppressed, embarking on a journey that explores the great theme of genetic engineering and exposes the devastating truth about who the corrupt society he lives in really are.
And that's a nice thumbnail. But that movie is exactly what's going on right now. The landed gentry, where the micro penis Billy and moron Elon Musk, yes, and Anthony Forskin, they had basically put themselves in. You know what transhumanism is?
Yeah.
Right. It's basically putting your consciousness into a robot per se. But it would be more of a golem. You know what a golem is? In Jewish Kabbalah, it's like a monster. It's like a monster. And so the landed gentry live in these bubbles, energy vortex, where it's all green and beautiful. Just think of the most beautiful green, lush, gentried place in England. And then it has a force field over it, in 100 square mile radius, and everyone lives a simple kind of almost Quaker existence, and artificial intelligence, and that's what rules over it. They set up this artificial intelligence to run all of this, and then, and so what happens is the guy, and they went out into space and went, to other star systems and basically found nothing out there. I mean, there were other stuff, but nothing that really tweaked their ego. So they came back and just had a good old, hedonist, simple life. But when you got bored and you went out of the constructs, and I'm talking about the rich people, AI, the only way it could punish the rich people who allegedly were in control was to age them. They'd always be eternal. But so, 80% of the population was, 1,000 years old, and they looked like they were 21. But there were the old guys who were kind of old to begin with, who were in their 50s and 60s, who did all of this because of their egos. When it came back from going to Alpha Centauri and doing, they just kind of kicked back, and they wanted to do this, that, and the other thing. And AI said, nope, that's not what you programmed. So you're now 10 years older. And so all those old guys would just get more crotchety and crotchety, and AI would just, so they lived, they were all senile, and they were living in this other house that was like the old folks' home. And all of the young folks saw what happened. So they were, they just contented themselves with leading the hedonist life. And the Zardos guy was one of those youngsters. And he realized, none of the rich guys, even though they played at having farms, they weren't producing food. So he developed a religion and forced the what did they call those people, the low lives, or the whatever the word they used, anyway, the brutals. And so they grew the food, very, like, ninth century, and the stone head was just a space, like a flying saucer. It landed, and they filled it up with all kinds of fruit and grains and everything the people on the fantasy island needed to live. And so that was his thing. And he wanted, and this guy's a smart guy, so he invents a religion. He invents, it's just like the Wizard of Oz, the pretend God. And he realizes they can't thwart the AI. And so he genetically engineers this. The Brutals were really this, like the police force of the other. The other guys were just like the zombie apocalypse. They weren't brutal, but Sean Connery was the leader of the Brutals, and the gun. So they had guns, right? And the penis was evil, and the gun was good. So they could kill anybody they wanted to keep order, so the people would keep growing food, and he genetically engineered them. So over generations, he genetically engineered not only brutality and strength and warmanship, but cunning and real interest in things. Why is this happening? And then he teaches them to read. And there's remnants of libraries all over the place. And so this guy reads The Wizard of Oz and realizes he's being played, and that they've been played for like 1,000 years, and that he is going to be, the lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and Dorothy and Toto all in one. And so the big head lands, the food is delivered, and he jumps underneath the big pile of grain, right? And he has a gun. And the people on the other side, the rich people, they don't have guns because they don't need them. They got AI to protect them, and they got the energy bubble over them. And so so he breaks in, and he breaks, AI doesn't know how to handle him. And so that's basically it. So it's exactly where we are now, because the guy who wrote that understood that after, that the Germans, and that there were all these mystery schools that had technology, meaning you look from the Civil War to the Spanish-American War to the First World War. There were tremendous jumps in technology, right? And if you were in the development of that, you realized that those jumps were just baby steps, that they had other stuff that they didn't bring, like Tesla. I mean, he had in England, and there were these two guys who were trying to be the best magician, and they constantly outdoing each other. And this one guy met Tesla, and Tesla was saying, "I'm developing a way to transmit matter across great distances." Right. So this guy, has money, and he gives Tesla a ton of money to go, do his, research on that and work it out, because he wants to be able to do a magic trick where he's on stage, and then he's in this, he's dropped into this, pit of fire, and then whoosh, and then instantaneously he appears. He appears. My boy kind of dropped out there. Are you back yet? Anyway, he appears up on stage, and he goes from stage in the pit of fire to up to the top balcony, and the spotlight's on, like that. So how could he go from here to, all the way up there? No, he dropped out. He'll have to call back. So, so we have an unbelievable technology. Boop, 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 boop. You still there? You're still there.
Shingle life.
Okay.
Anything.
Okay. So anyway, bottom line about the aliens. Everything that's going on that we can see out, all the flying saucers from the 30s on are ours, meaning they come from, Mr. Globaloney. And there's a thing called, here, you got the computer, Google breakaway civilization. See what Wikipedia says about that.
Is that a film?
No. Breakaway civilization is what's happening, meaning after World War II, Germany bombed into oblivion, Stone Age, the real estate of Germany, but the Nazis escaped through Operation Paperclip and the Vatican's rat line. They got 1 million folk out. And from 1943 on, this, did you ever see the Captain American Marvel movies?
Yeah, I think I did see the first one.
Right. Hail Hydra, right? All of that is exactly what fucking happened, right? And the second one, he wakes up and they're pretending it's still 1944, but he's in this room, the sun's coming through the thing, he's got a pretty nurse taking care of him, and he's listening to the radio, and it's a baseball game, and he kind of gets this furrowed look on his hair, and the nurse goes, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Where am I?" She goes, "Oh, you're in this hospital room in Washington, D.C., blah, blah, blah." He goes, "No, I'm not. I'm listening to this baseball game. I listened to that baseball game before I got, went off to war. I was there at Yankee Stadium. So I can't be here listening to that baseball game when I knew, like 4 years ago, I was there watching it. No, what's going on?" And he he's Captain America. He like pushes her out of the way. He pushes, there's this guy at the door. He can't open. So he just pushes through the wall, bang, and he's like in a warehouse. And then he really goes, uh-oh, and he runs out of that. He runs past the guards. The horns are going off. He breaks out through this door, and he's downtown Manhattan on Broadway, going across, that main street of Broadway there, and it's 2000 and whatever, and it's got all the modern buildings and modern cars and big jumbotrons everywhere, and people walking around in funny clothes, and that's where the second movie takes over, where you see the rest of the movie is about Hydra is in every government, and they stay the bad guy while they are the good. They are the U.S. government. They are the French government. They are the English government. They are the Japanese. They are the Russians. But Hydra is the enemy, and there are all these other countries, and they're postulating and precipitating globalization, right? And in that movie, so there's the big fight against that, and Captain America unfurls what's going on, but these guys are already off planet. So they come back and attack um, Earth, and they have made deals with aliens, like Thor's brother, Loki, and to bring on Mr. Globaloni. And that's been the plan since 1947. Cold War. That's why we had Vietnam, why we had 9/11, why we had you name it. And so right now, and in my dream last night, I had, and I got up and took a piss like 7 times. So it was my magic door. I would go back to that hotel and there would be another, path for me that I could have gone on. And I saw how it changed the world and everything
as
else.
long as I am the cadre of...
You find on the internet about breakaway civilization?
Well, I mean, this one guy who claims he's an archaeologist,
right?
He says that, yeah, I mean, I think probably the cadre are familiar with it. It's just, there's the government's, well, usually the US government is creating a second civilization in space somewhere.
Yep, off planet.
When you get nuked or whatever, they're still going.
And, the Nazis landed on the moon in 41, and they went to Mars by 44. And the reason why we never went back to the moon is because the Nazis are up there. And, people say, oh, we never went to the moon because, Stanley Kubrick did it. Well, he did do that. But they did go to the moon because they were going to the moon. That's why they made the Saturn V. The Saturn V was the most amazing. It could boost into high Earth orbit 100 tons, way more than you needed to go to the moon. And so they were putting a lot of hardware up in space. And they have things, there's a program that was in England called Alternative 3. Did you ever hear of Alternative 3?
No, that sounds interesting.
So back with Newton, back with Plato, they knew all about how the planet was changing. Like we're talking about, global warming, blah, 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 right? Well, they knew that. They knew this was, because they saw the other patterns before them, and they went into historical archives that we don't even have anymore. That's where Plato got all the information he got, and same with Socrates. And
like the Library of Alexandria.
Right, exactly. That was all information that that was not known of. And Alexander conquered the world, meaning the Library of Alexandria wasn't just in Alexandria. Every country, India, all those places he conquered and took over their big cities and married the king's daughter, he left part of Greece organization, and he left one of his generals there to be the administrator. And that's why he had this amazing, he's really the only closest guy to do it, because he didn't do it through force. He did it through commerce and the expansion of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, they say that Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Well, it's true. And he used to burn the scrolls from the library that was in Rome. But what was in Rome wasn't the Library of Alexandria. And the Library of Alexandria wasn't just in Alexandria, because he had about 40 Alexandrias all over the planet. So that shit was everywhere. And so...
Have you heard about Niven's tablet?
Yes, that was part of that. And same with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and same with the Emerald Scrolls. And there's hundreds of those scrolls that they find. And unless you are some guy like me who's been part of that, you don't, you're just watching All in the Family, just watching Archie Bunker.
Let's talk about that a bit. Like the Niven's tablets and whatever. What are they all? Are they pointing to Lemuria and Atlantis
and things and things before that, and technologies? And that's why this entity, and people call about, the Illuminati. No, that's just another, what would you call it? Distraction. Anything that you hear talked about, made a propaganda and distraction, you need it. It has to be at least coming from 20% truth. Like my stories, right? I constantly say, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob, and don't believe a word I say, right? And yes, these stories are true. And why you really go, boy, well, they are. But they're also, I'm an artist, so I take artistic license. I tell, that's what a griot does. He takes the truth, and he's not giving you a propaganda. I'm not trying to get you to believe anything. What I'm trying to get you to believe in is yourself. The griot opens the door for the adept to walk through so they can learn about themselves and what their path is. I'm not trying to give you a path or make you my, servant no. I'm trying to wake you guys up and tell you a story that, ignites your interest, and then you'll go through the door that I open, and then you'll see yourself in the mirror. Did you ever hear Michael Jackson's song "Man in the Mirror"?
No.
You should hear. Michael Jackson was brilliant. He was the king of pop because he had a lot of songs that were truly amazing. And Janet Jackson, his sister, also that. And that's why they screwed her, meaning she was at the top of her form when she had her costume malfunction, and that was it for her. She was, never cut another record, never did.
I saw the other day one of Michael Jackson's last speeches. He was, he was exposing all of the, the lies of that our history is all wrong, stuff like this. And then obviously he got killed.
Yeah, then he died.
I'm not sure exactly what happened, but maybe you can talk about that.
Well, I pretty much, Prince, Michael Jackson, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, you name it. Anybody who died of an overdose was, Marilyn Monroe, everyone of that nature, basically assassinated.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've known any junkies, I sure have, between me working in the music business and me working at the VA, working specifically with guys who the U.S. government turned into junkies. It's hard to OD on any of those drugs. Now, fentanyl is another story. They're clean, but heroin. Heroin addicts, junkies lasted 40, 50 years. It wasn't until AIDS that the junkies started dying in numbers, and then they smartened up and stopped sharing needles. Hey, Kev, I'm on live, and I have another person on the phone. Do you want to be part of the live chat? Kevin? Okay, you're gone. Are you still there, Slim?
Now I'm here.
Okay. That was somebody else who might have been interesting, but he said, "Oh no, he didn't even respond. He just called and I said, "Hey, I'm on live chat. I'm going to put you live on live chat with this other guy." And he didn't respond. But he's
John Birmingham.
Excuse me?
Was it John Birmingham?
No. He's a record producer. He wants to produce them. Kevin. Yeah, buddy, there you are. I'm on live chat. You want to be on live chat?
How would I know that? You gave me a tone like I should know. Should I know?
You're on live chat right now. Your voice is going out to millions of people on the internet.
Millions. Millions and millions.
Millions and billions.
Okay, here I have a message for you all.
Okay.
Wake up. All right, I'll try you later.
Okay, I'll talk to you. I'm still iced in up here. Ridiculously. I'm with 6 inches. It's been 8, hasn't gone above 8 degrees at night. So it's
cold here and windy. Yeah, that sucks.
And it's like an ice, whatever melts, it just makes it worse ice. It's really bizarre. I've never seen it like this. So hopefully by that time, this it's supposed to rain this weekend and get warm. If it does that, this will be gone. But if it rains, I'll probably be here for God knows how long. So I'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right, Baba.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Are you back? Am I back? Are you with me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. I can't seem to make do a mixed call there. So if that happens again. So that guy's a producer.
Well, does he have WhatsApp? Because if he has WhatsApp,
No. He is just totally Mr. Analog, and he has the internet because his business needs it. But he kind of he's a producer, so he's interested in my story. So that's good. And he's the only one who's like, lots of people, I get emails, oh, we're a big corporation, we want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And I say, fine, great, love it. Send me the check. Send me a check for $2,500, put $2,500 in my PayPal, and call me so I can talk to you and hear your voice. I'm not making any kind of contractual arrangements, strictly over the internet, So there's been about 6 different, we're a big company, we can do blah, blah, blah. I said, fine, put $2,500 in my PayPal and give me a phone call. And so I haven't heard from those guys. But this is the only guy, but he didn't, he doesn't have $2,500 to put in my PayPal, but he's at least gave me a phone call and wants to, he wants to do something, so he's in Nevada. So I have to wait till summertime to go visit him. So. But he seems like an interesting guy. So anyway, and he is quite the theologian and philosopher. I mean, his business is recording and music, and he's amazing. From 1940s to 1980 music. He's not so much a country western guy, but everything else: black music, rock and roll, jazz. He's really. He's like a human fountainhead of all that, and he's got quite the collection.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, as if nothing else, he will be an interesting guy for us to go visit when you get here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, I'm lining up our.
When I was going to go traveling, I wanted to film the whole thing, and I'm feeling like coming over to see you and John might just be my A-list opportunity.
Right.
To make it big online.
and John, if we could get John to do it, but I just really, I'm doing everything I can to help him out, and in that apology.
Listen, I'm a Libra, so
right.
I know what he's going through.
Right, and
I know what it's like to teach his daughter. So
right.
Maybe I can get into it.
Yes.
Well, not into his head, but
right. You can.
As a Libra to Libra.
Right. Exactly.
And,
so that would be good, and I'm up for that. And if he could do it and be just in the flow, when he's in the flow, it's like when you saw me dancing, that one, right? So my phone wouldn't focus on either him and me, so the whole, hour and a half was kind of blurry, which I thought was interesting. What'd you think of that aesthetic?
You mean where you were focused on his face?
Well, not only that, the whole thing, my phone just wouldn't, I zoomed in on his face, but it wasn't sharp,
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it has kind of a retro feel to it.
Right.
I love watching that sort of thing, actually, from back in the day. So
right. It was like,
if that's what you're talking about, then
yes,
I'm all up for that sort of thing.
It was like I was a penthouse photographer and I put Vaseline on the lens. And it probably was because I was cooking, so I had olive oil all over my fingers. So, but that, like you said, it added to that image, and it really caught his sweet, innocent side, and then he would snap into a character of Obama or the hillbilly or the redneck, and he is amazing when he does that, because he really captures that essence, right? Of like you say, he's the people's saint of truth, and I call him the, yes, not yes, hail, praise Jesus. So if it was us going to all these people I know, it would be a wild and crazy film. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Would we have to wheel you around in a wheelchair, Al?
No,
I was
no.
thinking about this today. How would that work? Or
no,
are you good to walk?
I'm quite mobile.
Yeah.
I'm quite mobile. The only thing is, I can't stand for long periods of time on concrete. I can walk forever, but standing on concrete,
Okay.
like at the supermarket or Walmart,
Going up,
and that's why
going up John's
you know,
stairs.
right, and that's why, things like that are super suicide. I mean, a good pair of stairs that are like to OSHA standards, not a problem. But do a thing that goes around.
By a flying cat.
Right, right. But his steps are like those steps are like 24 inches wide, and other ones are 3 inches wide. So when I'm going down them, half my foot doesn't even go on the step. And I put this railing so I could at least pull myself up and hold on to something going down. And he sheetrocked around it so you can see it, but you can't hold on to it. It's like. Why did you do that? Why didn't you just right? What? No. It's because there's so many things going on in his head. You can never really tell what it is, because he does have that demonic, little devil, and not the kind of little devil that you and I have in it. That we're just cheeky monkeys, You know what cheeky monkeys are? That's an English term, right?
Yeah.
That's the monkey. You go to the zoo, and the orangutan bends over and shows you the big asshole, and then shits in your face. That's a cheeky monkey, and then jumps up on the high bar that you can't get him and just laughs hysterically. I mean, when they do that, they laugh. They're just laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
I used to go to Central. Yeah.
Our dear Lynn from the cadre who's in the chat now. She did call me a cheeky one. So
well,
I guess I am a cheeky monkey.
Yeah, you're a cheeky monkey. There's a commie there. Oh, I already knocked him out. Yeah, I already deleted him.
Shout out to Fish, Scottish Bishop, Courtney, Candice, and Lindsay.
Yeah.
We love you, cadre.
Yeah. So if you guys get a hold of me on my email, thedudeawake42@gmail, and leave me, and if you're on WhatsApp or Vibe, I think is the other thing I'm on, you can Scottish Bishop. I wonder who Scottish Bishop is. Spot on. The moon is to the yes. The moon is an artificial. I mean, all of Star Wars is exactly what happened to our solar system. It wasn't in another galaxy far, far away. It's like right here in our neighborhood, And the fucking moon is the Death Star. The fucking moon is the Death Star. Yes, it is. And it's hollow on the inside.
And the Martians are the Nazis, then I guess.
You got it. It is, and a Nazi isn't really a term. It's more a shamanic term of character. It's, they just wanted to make sure that they were cooked correctly. Correctly.
Oh, God.
With those kids, you had to baste them a lot. Instead of a turkey baster, they had a baby baster.
Oh, God. God, we ask you to forgive our sins. Anything that Al may say on the chat.
Praise Jesus! And don't believe a word I say. Look at those eyes. I can't even look through them. Look at my eyes, kids.
Please
yes?
bet a penny for this kind old man. He is in dear need of some hard-earned cash.
Yes.
From your pocket.
Into the PayPal, please. Let it go.
In a few days, on the 28th,
right?
then I can give you some money. So
Oh.
if no one else does, then
right. But people do. They just forget. They just forget. I mean, people, and I get little notes. Oh, I just forgot. Here's, and I don't care. Whatever it is, it's always just going to be just what I need, But I do need a little something in that just to keep that solvency going. So, because unless I'm in the deep green, I can't get to that, thing. So the only thing going into that thing is the PayPal thing, and I'm on the BOP, and so anyway, that is the story of that. And I don't really harp on it too much, but I am so snowed in. It is surreal. Went out there. It's 40 degrees. The sun is out, and it's still 6 inches of concrete ice. It's like, it's not going nowhere anytime soon. I mean, it is, it's a lot. It's half of what it was last Sunday. Not this past Sunday, but 10 days ago. It's about half of what it was 10 days, but it's still 4 to 6 inches of solid ice, and it's slicker because the snow is, or what's on top has been melting. It is like a skating rink, and the driveway is 2 miles long at 40 degrees, and people. There are 5 other houses on this road. I called them all up, and half of them have lost their cars into the forest. Luckily, no, yeah, that's how bad it is. And the others left their cars down on the pavement and are walking, and they're saying it's worse because they can't even walk up the hill. And so they said, okay, we'll walk through the forest. Well, the forest is frozen too. There's, some guy, he's put rope so he can put, he got like half a mile of rope. So it's like end of times. It's end of times. Jesus is coming back. He's in the forest right now talking to squirrels.
They might find that lady who went to the mental asylum. She might be still looking for her dogs, Fluffy.
Right, Fluffy, yes. Oh, God knows what happened to Fluffy and Muffy. They were not dogs who were ready to take care of themselves, because they were running straight up into where that road used to be relatively passable, and people would go up there and throw their dogs. They didn't want that dog anymore. Instead of taking it to a pound or some place that would get another home, they would just drive up there and throw the dogs up there. So there was a pack of dogs, about 50 dogs, that were, and one of the reasons I threw them up there, that they got themselves a Rottweiler, and then the Rottweiler started attacking them because they were stupid, and so they would just put it in a cage and throw the cage out the door up there. And so there was a pack of unbelievably nasty animals up there, and
hellhounds.
Yeah, hellhounds. Yep, and I haven't heard much. Used to be able to hear them go, and they were real hellhounds.
So is it like this motley crew of like a boxer, a Chihuahua, a Dutch Hund, and they will kind of turn back into wolves? I mean, what does that even look like?
Yes, what it looks like, but not a Chihuahua. They ate the Chihuahua as like a a cocktail weenie. No, they were all big, nasty dogs. And the biggest of nasty of dogs was the Alsatian, the killer dogs, the Dutch dogs that the Dutch military bred, that will kill you in 100 different ways and don't make a sound. And they only understand Belgian French. Either French, French people, they don't listen to French people, only Belgian French people. Because I had a friend of mine who he was gun-toting drug dealer up in South Bronx, and he had all these killer dogs, and he got himself one of those dogs. And I had a girlfriend who was teaching. She was Belgian, right? And she taught math at NYU, and he would come to our parties, right? And because he always brought the great edibles. I mean, he was a gun-toting drug dealer, but he was I knew him since I was a kid in Harlem. The Green family, they were in the mob for 100 years. They were the most, they were it up there. Anyway, He used to come, and one time he came with this, Belgian killing dog, and he had it on a serious leash, and choke collar and a thing around his body, and this dog came in and scoped everyone out, and then found the weakest person and tried to kill it. And, and
What the fuck?
and everyone at my party were like, bougie art, rich people, and street. Everyone was kind of not ready to protect themselves. And this dog nearly ripped this guy's arm out of the socket, right? And he went, if the dog wasn't.
But then he started speaking Belgian French and
No.
left him alone.
My girlfriend did. She knew what kind of dog it was, and she gave it, the command to stop. And this dog, like, lunged after this person it scoped out that it wanted to kill. And like I said, nearly ripped this guy's arm out of the socket, but, landed him on the floor and underneath a couch. So the dog was having, until the arm came off of this guy, the dog was like having to carry the couch. And my girlfriend, she right away knew what it was, and basically gave him the dog the order, and the dog stopped and sat and looked at her like, "Oh wow, there's my master." And the guy, she went over and petted it, and she got a dog, and she loved that dog, and that dog was the most amazing dog, right? So Anthony will have to call back. He dropped out there. So let's see what the cadre is saying. Oh, there he is. There you are. You're back. You back? Are you back?
I'm like Timothy Leary just dropping out over here.
Yes. And tuning in. Let's see. Moon is closer. Why do these bots even bother? I don't know who the fuck that guy is, but he is. Come on.
Well, you see, Al, if you make your good, hard-working grasshopper a moderator, I can clear up this chat for you.
Well, you can be that. I don't care. Well, let's talk about it on not on the World Wide Web. But yes.
No, I mean, if you're going to make me one, there would have to be Lynn, Fish, Lana.
Yes.
I would never
be the only one. Yes. Can I do that? Can I have more than one moderator?
Yeah, you can have as many as you want.
Oh, well, then, hey, that's okay. That's what we're going to do. So I'll have to talk to them all. So all of you guys, call, get a hold of me and let's work it out. I'll make you all moderators and you can take care of this, because I almost, that commie guy, I almost gave him the wrench, because I can barely see. I was, oh, no, I'm not going to push that button again, because they're right next to each other. And I got these big, fat fingers. So it's like, so anyway, my Dutch girlfriend got the killer dog. You dropped out right at the top of the story, right at the punchline.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So let's see. Fish. It's freaking freezing here. I wish it was snow. Yesterday it was 60 degrees. It's 8 degrees here right now during the day. 6 would be. I'm waiting for 60. Now it's 36. But still 36 is like 30 degrees warmer than I'm at right now. But with wind chill. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow is wind chill, like 28. Okay, so you're
I've been talking to Fish. She lives near Nashville.
Yeah, she's
just near Nashville.
Yeah. We talk. Yeah, there's 4 of them. and the other Fish that I used to talk to, and she came to visit with her boyfriend, and I married them in the woods.
Whoa.
Yes. And it actually, brought them together, and they became serious about what they're doing. So now they're, I hear from her every now and then. See, the real problem, I put these stupid names for people that I get their phone number, and instead of, I try to spell out their name, and the little robot on my phone can't understand what I'm saying, so it says something stupid, and then I push the button, and that's what I have as their name. And then a year later, my stupid phone named them, So
Yeah.
that's so anyway, so yes, 2027. Yeah. So anyway, that dream I had last night, it was a killer. Tonight I might be more specific about it. It was quite, and it definitely, I haven't had anybody to scratch my itch in a while, and so it was quite a frisky dream. Plus, it was really strange dream because all of those divergent paths I could have gone on, I went on them, and the world freaking was way different than it is right now. It's not like I became president or anything, but just, it's like those people who would go back in time and step on a ant, and then the world would change. It's like the Star Trek when they found the argon of destiny, and McCoy had shot up a bunch of crank and fentanyl, and he was wigged out, and he broke loose and went through the hula hoop of destiny, and as soon as he did, everything changed. And so yes, there's Jane Pood, Anthony. Hey, Jane. Boy, Anthony can do two things at once. He can talk to us and type. That's pretty good. I can't even do that. I can't do that.
Well, being a Libra, when I put my mind to something, I can really do it.
Oh, that is so true. Libras, of all the signs, when they are in balance, they are indomitable. They are the people I ever knew who, other than Capricorns, and see, Capricorns have a kind of bitchy edge to them. They want to. And Libras, you guys really don't have that bitchy edge. You can get a little sanguine, but that's about it. And sanguine isn't as annoying as bitchy,
Yeah, and listen, my moon is in Sag, so
right.
I'm just a nice guy.
He's just a nice guy. Yeah. A well-balanced, nice guy. Yes. He's the guy you want to have as your judge whenever you go to court. As long as he's not drinking coffee or.
I spoke to an astrologer who said that he can see me being like a mayor, like
right.
Someone.
Yes, or a negotiator, or a mediator, or whatever. Someone has a little bit of power that can do good, right? Not too much power where you want to rule the world, and you never give Capricorns power because that's all they want to do is fucking rule the world. And you don't give.
Was that your mom?
Triple Capricorn. Yep, and she fucking did. I mean, like I said. She and my dad went off to see the Pope all on their own. They didn't have anybody else in the room. Yeah. And her grand aunt was the same, but she was way more wacky. My mom was just straight up, give me power or I kill you, motherfucker. And now give me a carton of cigarettes and a bottle of vermouth, and I'll be happy. She drank. I couldn't believe that.
Was your dad a triple Virgo?
Yeah, triple Virgo. Yes. He wanted, he's always right. And that's, and he didn't want control. I mean, he could have, he's in the Air Force. He had a lot of power, but he never went above bird colonel. And you have to be a general, really, A, to make money, and B, to rule the world. And he was just happy to control, and to be right and control his little world and have, as a bird colonel, you always got a nice house. You got servants. You had a guy drive you around in a car, and you could do whatever the heck you wanted to. So he liked that. And he got to wear a uniform. He always dressed to the nines, my dad. And Virgos always are spit shine. I mean, my poor brothers and sisters, they never quite appreciate, because they had this, I hate him, or he was God. You know, that whole thing that kids do that put their parents on a pedestal. And so they never got to hang out and have a good time with them or appreciate the shit they did. My mom was not a morning person. Either am I. I mean, look at me now. You know, I just woke up and it's like, what is it? 3:30, you know? I mean, I woke up at noon, but I still haven't woken up look. So this is my mom. So, but my dad was early riser, and he would make the coffee for my mom. He would make our lunches.
Hey.
What?
Hey, speaking of mornings,
Right.
The video I was just listening to you when you went live. You said that John was doing jumping jacks until God knows when. And
Yes.
You said, I wonder if tomorrow morning he's going to, shout at you or be an angel. I'm just curious what he was in the end.
Well, what happened was I was drinking water and pissing and dreaming. So I woke up around 7 o'clock. The sun had risen, but not shining. So instead of being really dark out there, it was starting to get light. And it was cold. So I had my warm, I have a big black coat that someone gave me before thank God. And, she's known me since I was Gorgo. And, she said, here, try this. And all his clothes fit me. And she was like, I can't believe it. You fit, he was a thin guy. How do you fit in his clothes? I said, well, I've lost a lot of weight. I still have a fat head, but, but anyway, right, an African head. And so a Zardo's head. So I have this big black coat that I got from him, from Dead Guy. It's the Dead Guy coat. And I was naked underneath it. So I looked like a Playboy bunny, had the coat on, and it went just below my junk, right? And just, low enough where my cheeks just, you couldn't see my cherry or my rosy hole. And so he was coming down. Before he opened his mouth, I came out. And so he was coming down. Before he opened his mouth, I came out the door. He was about to listen at my door and he had this little camera. And I walked in, and had the coat on. And because I could have walked out totally naked, but it was still a little nippy here. It's starting to get colder again now. But anyway, walked out and he ran up and he hasn't come down since. So I don't know what kind of mood he is. But yes, last night he was, the last few nights, I think he naps and wakes up around 12 or 1 or 2 and then does jumping jacks for an hour. And if I'm asleep, man, I don't hear it. But if I'm caught going to take a piss, it's like, okay. And again, it's just what it is. It's not like, oh my God, he's doing this on purpose to no, it's just what it is. I am just a Pisces. Yeah, Pisces are good fish. I mean, that's the sign of the fish, right? Yes, you are a fish. Very good, Anthony. Listening, talking, and typing, and watching. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. He can chop. He can vacuum. He's like in London, did they have Ron Popeil amazing kitchen tools, like the Vegematic?
What do you mean?
There was this guy who invented these really hokey things in the 60s, and he had his own little TV thing, and he had the Chinese make, like the Vegematic. It was a piece of plastic with about 7 razor blades in it on a spring, and you attach to a rod, and you kind of hit it with your fist.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm on the TV and I accidentally end up in a place I shouldn't be.
Right.
You have all those advert channels, and there's that guy on with his vegetable cutter.
Yes, that's it. Ron Popeil. And he had this, do you have gray hair? Oh, he had this other thing. Like, are you bald? Are you embarrassed by baldness? And he had a big, a marker, like the thing you draw on the whiteboard with. And it was very wide. And you painted hair on your head. and it was like stinky, and it was like sticky, and then he had a little bag of stuff that you sprinkled onto that, and from 10 feet away you might think that was hair, but close up the smell was, anyway. I told you about the TV show we did. We had our own version of that. We'd shellac people's head and with black paint, and then put sand on their head, but he had a product. He had all these crazy products, Do people make fun of you that you have a small penis? Well, here is our penis extension. He just everything you could imagine. And he's, these commercials only appeared when it was real late at night with all the insomniacs, right? At 1 a.m. And it was, and you could, in New York, there were 5 channels, right? Click, 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 click. And he had every channel had his commercials on it late at night. And you couldn't, so if you were an insomniac, you couldn't get away from Ron Popeil.
Were you one of those channels, or did you have like an alternative?
Our show, we were on cable. So New York City was one of the first. It was really interesting. In the 50s and 60s, they tried cable TV out in New York and Chicago and Indian reservations. Because Indian reservations, everyone kind of lived close, and they could use to study the market demographics, easily from the Indian reservations and do mind control on them. And New York did it because in New York, they had so many tall buildings that you couldn't get a real picture. I mean, everything was in triples, there was, unless you were like right in line with whatever antenna was transmitting. 80% of the people in New York City just had really crappy reception, no matter where they were. Yeah. So for the first 5 years, Manhattan Cable, if you got it put in your house, it was free. And then they started charging, But the first 5 years, and if you signed on right away, it was a base price. So, for 5 years, you got it for free. And then after that, when they started charging people, the guys who came on after that 5 years or however many years later, they would pay a little bit more than the guys who first came on. So anyway, and they had over 100 channels. When cable went on in 1960 in New York, there were only 5 channels that had programming, but Manhattan Cable had 100 channels they could have, right? So they had music, they had this, they had that on it. And they had a studio downtown, Manhattan Cable Access. And on public access, there were 18 or I think 20 channels, about 100 channels, that you could go on and you didn't have to pay, right? Then they had another 10 channels that you could get your own channel, but you had to buy it. And so guys like CNN and Ted Turner, that's the cable network. Those guys just bought, and that's what started that. They were at the beginning of it, so they could buy a channel, and then when satellites came in, they could beam that to every cable company in America. So that's why they could have a national distribution. But back in the day when we did it, we were on channel D, and one of our commercials was, "We're on D, and it doesn't mean dud, and it doesn't mean good." Because we had things like Little Women beating up big men, prostitutes showing the proper way to do oral sex, and the good, men. Do you want your women happy? This is how to do cunnilingus, So, and we had characters named Chlamydia. we had a whole family of sexual communal diseases, and we could do it because it was Manhattan Cable. It wasn't like going over the FCC airwaves. We could do whatever the friggin' we wanted. Yeah. And that was the good old Wild West days. And half the people who I did that with half of them became world famous artists, and the other half went into. I mean, two of the guys started MTV.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
and another guy became big at ABC and went double down when Disney bought ABC out. So but he and I, he was just he worked at what was the name of that show? It was like after at 12 they had no after your local news. Nightline was what it was called, and he was known as a studio director, meaning he was the guy who ran around and made sure everything worked right, and he knew the studio like his, and he was really strange. He not strange, but he had a lot of gene in him. So he came from the Philippines. So he was Spanish, he was Portuguese, Filipino, indigenous like Indian, and Chinese. And so he had like amazing. He looked like James Bond meets who was the kung fu guy who died? Bruce Lee. Yeah. James Bond meets Bruce Lee. And he had that kind of Spanish conquistador, good looking, kind of conquering the world look. I mean, he was amazingly, all the girls just loved this guy. He was it for running a show. He was a showrunner, right? So he was it, right? And he did not, he wasn't like, oh, I'm better than anybody. He just did it. He did his best. He manifested doing, and that's one reason our show was as good. I mean, he could do everything. Chiron, and he could run around. I mean, I did shows with him where he and I were the only two people doing the show. I mean, there were people, acting in it and doing this and doing that, but I was a really good cameraman. And our cameras, we had 3 cameras, and they were so close together, it was not hard to run all cameras. And if you had the headset on, he said, okay, I'll get on camera A. I go over there, okay, zoom in on this. I did it. And then he'd click on that. Okay, go over to C and shoot a 2-shot. I go over to do 2-shot. Okay, take B. And we had this one show that was, I think I told you, it was one of the skits we did. And we took the Wall Street Journal and took everything out of their editorial page. And the idea of the skit was it was in the near future, 2022. That's when we did it in 1969 to 1972. We thought the real, what's the faraway future, Al? 2022. It'll be like George. It'll be nothing like we can think it is. I mean, nothing has changed except for a few things. And so what we saw, what was going to happen, Mr. Globaloney was going to take over, and everyone would get the universal on their forehead, right? And you didn't have a name. You had that number or a product name like Calamine Lotion. And this is Mrs. Calamine Lotion. And this is Mrs. Chlamydia, right? And there's their daughter, gonorrhea. And so we did things like that. And we would take stuff straight out of that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're still there.
Yeah.
So that was that show. And what was I bringing up? Oh, yeah, we did one of those shows where all the actors were there, but we had no crew. So it was just him and me, and we were running, and he would come out and change things and do this and do that. And the thing that we would cut to, I had a friend of mine who was really great guy, really smart guy, but he was a gangster. And his place in gangsterdom was to take the fall for people, right? And they paid him a ridiculous amount of money to take the fall, and they'd get him out of jail within a year. And he was always the best person in jail. And I met him at NYU taking an anthropology course because he was just because he he kept going in and out of jail. One of the things that the penal guys would send him to school. And so that he just kept, he was like me, an eternal student. We are the only two getting paid to go to school. Him because he was in jail, me because people wanted me to know. So anyway, what we would do, because he got into some interesting things sexually in jail, was that I got this industrial, because my wife and I used to love to wrestle in the nude. Instead of arguing and then having makeup sex, we would, I'd have these. We wrestle. I got wrestling mats, and we take our clothes off, and I found these places that in New York you can get anything, and I found industrial size 20-gallon tubs of Crisco, and I tell you, kids, Crisco is the best sex lube you can have. It's like super biodegradable. No one gets, there is no scent in it. There is no taste in it except Crisco, and it's slicker than snot. So part of this scene was of all of this craziness going on with everyone having a universal product code on their head and named calamine lotion and gonorrhea. And at least, we had a clock in the control room. Every 2 minutes, we had a camera, a lockdown camera on this guy. He's totally naked, and he would just be slapping the Crisco all over his body, all over and down on his parts. And, we did not hide anything. And he had quite the schlong. And so...
Was you a black elevator guy?
No, that wasn't Kirby. No. This is a white boy, but he had quite a big schlong. And we could do that on cable TV. And like I said, when we did that show, especially there was a 3-year period that we were at our best, right? That we were just, because most of us were putting whatever creative energy we had into this rather than I was a photographer and I was a filmmaker. So doing the video stuff, and I was a painter too. But I saw all of my friends who were painters, it didn't turn out well for them. I mean, some did really well, and others turned out like Gary, Gary Blue, the story of Gary Blue.
Vacation.
Yep, vacation. Yep. So it was our zenith time, and then we had another little bit in 1980-ish, and we did that because we had. Collab was this great organization because we who started it, we just wanted to get an umbrella so the art world wouldn't just be rich people. We wanted to be able to fund anybody who wanted to do art. And it was great because hundreds, if not thousands of people, got their chance to be successful in whatever they wanted to do. And we did, we didn't do just painting or art gallery stuff. We did, you name it, we did it. And we were very socially conscious. So we did a lot of stuff. And we had a lot of connections with things like the Living Theater and the, who those guys? Bread and Puppet Theater. And about 4 or 5 other entities that were like that around the country. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to make a thing called the Institute for Aesthetically enough name to get put into a fancy college like Princeton or Yale. Like Yale would be good for this. And then through their nonprofitness, we could have things like the traveling video art circus that would take it on the road. So the internet and video, we could make it just, and that's what Dreamy Dreamland is supposed to be, kind of, to pave the way to do that. See, we can do that. Look at this guy. He's doing it from wherever he is, and he's got a cadre, and they're all over the planet. And yeah, we could do this. And so, and then there's another thing I would have called the Freely Inquiring Society. And in universities, they have sororities, fraternities, and societies. And once they are put, they're there forever, unless they do something stupid, bad, right? and then they can get a slap on the hand or you're out. It's like me bopping the Moscow Mitches out off the cadre. So we would have a nice website showing what we do, and we would go to colleges. And every college has what is known as a student activity fund. And you go there, they pay tuition and lectures, and every kid kicks in like $100 or $300 or whatever the school has. And if you have 1,000 kids or 2,000 kids or 30,000 kids, that student activity fund can be a lot of money. And they have to spend that every semester. They just can't roll it over into the next and the next. They got to spend it. So from the middle of the year, so they're always doing shit. Even if people don't show up, they do shit. This one school would spend 20 grand to have a carnival. And nobody wanted to go to it. And I was working there. And so what I did was, you do this carnival, nobody here. So I went to all of the orphanages, all of the places where kids are that have nothing, to housing developments. And I would carnival, and I would bring all these poor Black and multicultural folk to super duper rich. These kids are paying 100 grand a year, and the school is paying 20. And so they had great cheeseburgers and great, right? And the people who ran it, the people who worked at that school, I went and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And they said, that's great. We always feel terrible about spending all this money and no one's here. So they had a big Ferris wheel and they had all those kind of rides that are at carnivals. And it was amazing, right? And then what I had them do was I had them take all the food the school had for that week and put it in boxes and send it home with the kids so the kids and their families could eat for the next month. Board of that really schmancy school were like incensed. They said, because everyone knew I was doing this, and I didn't even work there. I was working for Brookings. I was running a program there. The school didn't pay my paycheck. They couldn't fire me. I couldn't do anything. And everyone knew about it. And the university said, we'll just never tell the board. They're never here. No one will tell them. But it got to them the second year, and they stopped doing the carnival. And by that time, the kids wanted to go to carnival because all these other interesting, these kids had older brothers that had really great bands and would play and sell things there. So we had we weren't just selling, we had party favors. I mean, it was like, and it was a state where those party favors became, semi-legal. And so, it was sad because the most uptight, rich, anal retentive folk stopped that community. But if you were to put into that college a society, this is where I came up with this idea. So, okay, fuck these assholes. I'm going to be here another year. We're going to start this thing called, what do you want to call it? But it's going to be society. And this one kid was really sharp on this. And he said, well, we want something free. So these assholes can't do it. Okay, free, okay. And then we want to push the envelope. And I said, well, doing that, you're inquiring to understand. So that's where we got the freely, like an adjective, inquiring, another adjective, society. So it'll be that. And so we stuck it in there, and we did amazing things. Like this school was in a state that Noam Chomsky swore that he'd never go there because of the senator, right? And and so kids wanted, they were like, wanted Noam Chomsky. First they wanted, what's his name? Howard Zinn, but he had died. And so, I said, how about Noam Chomsky? And they said, yeah, Noam Chomsky, And so they tried to get a hold of him, and and they were like scared to call up somebody like that. And I said, well, just call him up. Oh, we can't call him up. We have to go to his department at Harvard. I said, no. And I just, called 411 in Boston and said, hey, got a number for Noam Chomsky? And they did. It wasn't like, oh, unlisted. They said, yeah, here, okay. Gave me the number. I called them up and said, hey, is this Noam Chomsky? Yes. Noam Chomsky who wrote, what's it called, manufacturing consent? Yes. You're wasting my time. I said, no. I got an offer for you. And he goes, an offer? I said, yeah. I want you to come to this state school and lecture. I'm never going. I hate those. I said, no, you hate the senator. You don't hate the people here. The people here are like people everywhere else. There's some assholes, there's some nice people. And I got a bunch of kids in the school who want to see you. And most of them are really attractive young ladies around the age of 20. And he goes, yes?
Where do I sign up?
He said, yes. And then I said, and how much would you charge for that? And he goes, I don't know, $5,000-$6,000. I said, we have to spend $40,000 in the next 3 weeks. How about that? Yes, I will have our lawyers call you up. They will fax things back and forth, and I will get you a first class, I will rent a jet for you to come from Boston so you won't have to get off in Charlotte. It'll go take you straight here. And then I'll have a limousine full of these young girls waiting at the gate for you. You'll feel like a rock star. And I'll put you in the fanciest hotel you've ever stayed in. And I will put you in that suite that's named after that senator that you hate. And you can trash it. And we'll pay for it. And he's like going, yeah. He kept going, yeah. And he was a lot younger than he is today. He could barely say yeah. But anyway, so he showed up, right? And it was a town, a college town. And so people were hanging, and we had a big auditorium that you could stick 2,500 people in. And because we didn't run the auditorium, the people who did said, well, since it's not, this, or this, we have to charge rent for that. I said, fine. What's the least rent, the least ticket price you can charge? And it said $1. I said, great. So we're trying to spend $40,000 right off the bat. We make $3,000, right? Anyway, he likes it, right? The fancy schmancy hotel is likes him because the guests there are like amazed that they're having breakfast with Noam Chomsky. He's got nothing to do. It's like at a period where he's got nothing scheduled for a few weeks. So he stays there, and we keep paying. And then the hotel starts paying us for him to stay there. I said, no, we don't want, give him the money. And then they line up a lecture at the convention hall that seats 20,000 people. And those guys wanted $20 a seat. And when it was all said and done, and we put them on the airplane back home with a big smile, we made $100,000. We tried to spend, and that's after we spent all that money, we still made $100,000. And that's where I got the idea. Okay, this has made a big problem for the school. I care because I don't work for them and they can eat my shorts. But this is a great idea. This is a workable business plan. I know this will work. And I have not been able to get a cadre or anybody who wants to do this. And I have all these people who, yeah, right. And that's why I'm talking to you guys, all three of you, right? And because of the internet, we don't have to have it centralized in it. We can have 100 of these all around the world, and then take all of the feeds, edit them down to the best of the best, and sell it to Disney or to Mr. What's his name? Jeffy, Norman Bates, Mr. Amazon. I mean, this is I'm telling you guys, this is a workable plan. I've done shit like this. And we'll have a lot of fun. We'll all friggin' make like somewhere between $1,000 and $40,000 a week. Wouldn't you like to have that as a paycheck? I know I would. That way I wouldn't have to go, hey, you want my...
I can see it clearly as my animal totem.
Yep.
As my...
librarian and your guardian angel. Yes.
I put my left hand on, I put
Yeah.
my right hand on.
Yep.
I purge. I can see it all.
Yep. You can see it on that ink blot in front of you. Yep. So come on, gang. 2022. That's what this video is about. This is the year to do this. I've got an open schedule. Being here, I'm on my 10th day of being here, not being able to go anywhere. I go down there and talk to some people or have a Wi-Fi show at the coffee shop. Nope, right here. Well, look at this place. This is nice, right? But I'm ready to go, gang.
John Kern? What role would he play, do you think?
Oh, just being the people's saint. If he comes with us, we do this. We advertise him as the people's saint of truth. Saint, yes, you know, the La Publica Saint John Birmingham of truth. Yes, of logo, and we just put him out on stage, and we'd have drums, a keyboard, and a guitar. And we would have a gigantic screen behind him, and he with his phone being projected up on the big screen, and let him go.
Did you get to watch that video I sent you with the amazing intro?
Yes. That was. I mean, like you said, I mean, he is brilliant. He's great. He's his own worst enemy. I mean, I've been trying to get him out there to do stuff for the last 7 years. I can't get him out the door.
Yeah.
And the few times that we did do it and we did video, it was kind of hilarious. But he like, I'll give you a good example. He decides, you know, I say, come on, let's get in your car and let's drive down there. And, right. He had a pair of those, and they were gold lame, right? Dallas, cheerleader hot pants, and he's wearing those. And he's got a football jersey on, and he's got football pads on, and he's got the jersey, and he's got a community. He's got these high. I don't know if you've seen that, you know, when he was dressed up as Ronald. And we go down. He had this gigantic truck, you know, those trucks that are like 10 feet off the ground and 8-foot tires, right? One of those kind of, you know, my penis isn't big enough, so I have to have this truck. And I needed like a rope and a crane to get me out because I weighed 100 more pounds than I back of the pickup truck so I could get out of the truck. And so he's coming down. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his videos of him driving down the thing, but he goes down, you know, I go down our driveway because it's a riverbed and it's at 40 degrees. He would go down, I do it at about 2 miles an hour, so it doesn't wreck my car. He had this big, gigantic truck, and he would do 20. And we would bounce up, you know, your head would hit the top and you're smash. And, you know, it was like, I would like really cinch myself in with a, you know, and, you know, after he did that for half a year, the truck fell apart. I mean, the engine seized because it bounced up so much that the crankshaft got bent and other things, you know, and he did that to 2 or 3 other cars. And I just said, John, just go. Yes, I said, John, just go slow. Right. And then we get down there, and you know, he pulls into the supermarket, the big parking lot, right? And he starts, you know, following. He says, "Oh, look at her!" And this girl would get out, or a woman, or a grandmother would get out of, as long as it was a female, would get out of the their car and have to walk, you know, a football field to the front door of the supermarket. He would follow them real slow, right behind them, and like kind of look at them, or like go next to him and like, you know, look at him and not say anything, but just like, it was like bizarre. I mean, it was amazing video. I mean, just off the hook, great. Yeah, I can imagine. But then we go in, and he's like going around the place in the football pads and the Orioles and the lame, you know, gold hot pants and the Ronald McDonald shoes, and he's going, can we come on, John, let's go. So we went around, and then we went to a few other places, and then they said he could never come into the supermarket ever again.
So that's why he's been snowed in for the past 7 years.
Yeah, pretty much, and other places, and he says it's their fault, but I kept saying, no, this is just a film. This is he's acting. This is not. No, don't call the police. No, we're just, see, camera. This is going on. This is. Yeah. And a lot of people knew me, so they didn't have him arrested. but they said they put put out into the hinterlands. Do not come here again. We you can come and you shop. You buy food. You can come here. Not the guy with the pads and the gold hot pants. No. Time we go do something, he kind of goes into character, which is fine if you really do it. Meaning, if it's just me and they know me, yeah, they won't take him away, but they will say, no, we don't want that anymore. Sorry. So I would, let's do that again. I said, no, sorry. No. So then he would do it himself. Then he'd get into trouble. Right. So that's why he says his place, oh, you can't make movies in this town. That's other people have made movies in this town, but not that. They don't understand. They don't understand high art. That's what John is. He's not just making. That's high art. The shit he does will be looked at in a few hundred years like people look at Vincent Van Gogh stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
So. And I appreciate it. I understand it. That's why I want him to be successful. I keep constantly saying, I'm your cheerleader, buddy. I'm here to help. And he understands that. But then that line in the sand, this beautiful, innocent, kind, generous, like the video he made of him being in bed, apologizing.
Yeah.
He caught, both sides of his head with that beautiful, kind, sweet. And he looked great. He worries about how he looks.
Yeah.
He looked just amazing. So if he could be that totally, he wouldn't have to worry. But people see that demon side of him. They get scared,
Yeah.
So I'm all for taking John, on the range, but I've done this 7 years, and within the construct of trying to do good, Freud said when you do the same thing over and over and over again, expect a different outcome. That's insanity.
Yeah.
Right. And Kant, other than saying, when someone points their finger at you and says your problem is, they're talking about themselves. He also said that at a certain point, unless the person you're trying to help wants to be helped, you're just enabling their bad habits. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not going to do this forever, but if a group of us could take John on and have a envelope, like, under the auspices of a university or something. We could do it on, you come here, the three amigos do a road trip. And if we could go get his oldest son, that kid has has John's talent and it doesn't have the issues that John seems to have. And if he could have the connective tissue with his dad and see it, and instead of getting angry about what his fucking mother is. Have you gone and looked at his ex? Have you looked up her YouTube channel?
She has some. Well, firstly, my phone's about to die, so excuse me when I just disappear randomly.
Okay.
But I have looked up her channel, and she has some weird stuff. She makes millions of dollars apparently or something, so it must be working. But
not millions, but more than we are. She's probably making a few grand, but I have no idea what she's making. But there's something. When she first started, she hit. She was doing pretty good, but then some people complained that she was using her kids as props, and so she had to change her business plan a little bit. But she's better because I do this rambling stream of consciousness show that and I'm doing it not to make money, but to do the shamanic thing to change the universe. And John just does the same thing over and over again. And again, he's high art, not fine art, high art. And it'll take some real depth for someone to appreciate it or to take it. But he edits, like you said, that show he did was brilliant. He used the technology to really be amazing.
there's no one near him.
Right.
I absolutely agree.
Right. So anyway, so that's why 2022 is the amazing year, because this is a year that we can, like I had, and that's why I had this dream. I kept dreaming where at all these points in my life where the track went this way, and instead of me still going on this track, I went wee, and I became a different guy. And I had 7, I had this whole night of these vivid dreams that I remember. I'm going to start typing them as storylines in my novels. And I had that dream for a reason. So the 7 major points in my life that if I had gone this way or that way, A, I'd be a zillionaire. B, I'd, be with the old crone. C, I would be, in Alpha Centauri when when that flying saucer came and this beautiful babe and with blonde hair and blue eyes, and this guy who was like unbelievably handsome said, "You're Al Bob. We've heard so much about. You want to take a ride?" If I had gotten on there, I would be landing, with the aliens as the diplomat for the planet Earth, right? But I didn't. I just kept, because I made an agreement before I was born, with Bob in Las Vegas, and every time I die, affirmation of the agreement I made before I was born, right? And constantly, when these forks in the road occurred, they always say, "Well, you can do that. You'll A, have dharma and karma to deal with, and C, you won't turn out like you at the end of this thing. You'll be somewhere else, and that will be okay. But there'll be a cost to it, and there will be, And I said, okay, I agreed, okay, and that's the thing. Never give in, never give. You got to put yourself on a path. You want to accomplish something. Never give up. Never give in. Right? You can navigate. You should never go head into something. You can't fight mano a mano with the powers that be, but you can navigate around them. You can get to. I mean, I'm not like, oh, those nasty Illuminatis. No, I spent half my life. It's not quite working for them, but
yeah.
I don't.
And now, like we said about John, in a couple of centuries' time, or whenever, you might be revered as the other people saying the truth.
Right.
So,
yes.
You've got to have faith.
I mean, no, I'm doing this for a reason. People say, "Oh, you're a saint. You're so patient." Well, patience is one of my virtues, and it's really good to test the metal of that virtue. So John is a known element to me, but boy, yeah. But it's great training. It's meaning I got another 20 years. So I've done you've heard all these stories. The best has yet to come yet, gang. And wouldn't you like to be part? You've heard all these stories, That's the invitation I'm handing out. I have this crazy lagging going on, repeating anyone else. Fish, I keep been telling you guys 2022 is when the internet is going bye-bye. And you, Anthony, you have had some issues, correct?
Yeah. No, I noticed them much more so now than ever before.
Right. And me too. But all I have to do to fix it, because I have no idea how to fix it. Fish, you at least know something about that. Me, I just kind of push this button and it'll go live. I know nothing else about it. But all I have to do is kind of do this. And my shamanic.
I mean, it might be because
it
might be because you're using your phone to call me and to stream. If you could use your laptop, it might be better. But then again, I'm in the bathtub right now.
So, Fish, is it just Anthony that's lagging, or is the image lagging? Because I'm using, because I can only talk to people in America on my phone, but to talk to people in the foreign lands, I have to use WhatsApp, and I have to go on the internet to do that. So my laptop and my phone are right now on the internet, so that might be it. But I have no idea. Oh, here's a new one.
I'll check afterwards.
Here's VIVVV. Hello. Okay. So I'm giving you the accident of so VIVV. I'm just going to call you V because you're a little round out as fish. So V, who are you? Give us a little hand to see if are you a member of the cadre? How did you find this channel, or are you a bot AI intelligence? And if you are AI intelligence, I'm not prejudiced. If you want to be human, be as good as you can be. Yeah. No, the voice and just you. Okay. Okay. So that's probably it. So let's see. Been on 2 hours and a half, almost 2 hours, 40 minutes. 4 people there. 8 thumbs up. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. So can anyone vouch for V there? Is V one of us? Does he belong there? Or is he the other? The other. And how many of you have been the other in your life? Pretty much all of us. Pretty much to be part of the cadre. You know what I'm talking about.
Beginning of my life.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
I can tell you something funny. They called me 00 Squirrel when I was a
00 Squirrel.
Acting like a squirrel.
00 Squirrel. Now there's a good internet name. Squirrel. Squirrel. 00 Squirrel. Yep. I had a girlfriend. Her name was Susie Cream Cheese, and she was a nurse, right? She was a nurse that helped the doctor who gave you the drugs, who knocked you out. And that's just the guy who gets paid the most. The drug dealer always gets paid the most, and so she had her own company going. But that was her name, Susie Cream Cheese. And that's how when she introduced her, my name's Susie Cream Cheese. Like James Bond, 007, I'm Susie Cream Cheese. And she was quite interesting. So, anyway, it's getting cold.
Related to your cheesecake?
Related to who?
To you being cheesecake?
Oh yes. That was not. I wasn't quite cheesecake yet. It was years later. I became cheesecake. I was almost cheesecake. I mean, no one called. It wasn't until 1984 to 88 that I was cheesecake. But back in the 60s, when Al and I had our apartment on 9th and B. And a lot of people brought cheesecakes because these people would come and they didn't make anything. And there were 3 because Lower East Side had a lot of Ukrainian restaurants and Jewish restaurants and bakeries. And a lot of those made some really good baked goods. And a lot of them had some pretty good cheesecake. So, every Saturday morning, my refrigerator.
The only time I went to New York, I stayed in a place in Bedford, Stuyvesant.
Yeah.
I think there was just so many Jewish people there. It was like being in Israel.
Right.
I don't know. That was just, I'd never imagined that.
Were you in Brooklyn or were you in Manhattan?
No, I was in the Brooklyns. I was next to that incredible church that looks like a skyscraper.
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So you were right on the edge of Williamsburg where the Hasidim and Lubavitcher are. So you were around all the guys with the black coats and the black hats and the strings, right? Yeah. I live right there. I live right in their industrial park that they burnt down so they could get into semiconductors and diamonds in the late 70s. So they burnt down 1,000 buildings for the insurance money.
Oh, God.
And they had so much political power that no one even, it was, and the euphemism in the fire department was called Jewish lightning. But it put about 20,000 people out of work and out of a home.
Yeah, that's awful.
Well, that is what the Hasidim and Lubavitcher. I mean, I knew those folks really well. I went to a rabbi school. My landlord owned a lot of buildings, and he would, when he come up to get the rent, he didn't come up to anybody. He came up to my place because we talked about theology. We talked about the Torah, and
Yeah.
and I was really into the Kabbalah, the mysticism of the Jewish religion, and that was he was the Kabbalah guy. So after about a year of doing it, he said, "You need to be a rabbi." And I said, "Rabbi, I'm Irish, I'm German, Italian. My godfather is Cardinal Cushing. He goes, well, no one's perfect. No one's perfect. And he said, we're like the Baptist of the Jews. We'll take anyone." So, did I ever tell you that story?
Jewish guy? I don't think I've heard this one.
I'm going to save that story till tonight. I'll tell that story. I'll tell my Hasidic story. So you can charge up. Have you plugged your phone in, or are you good to go, or are you going to run out any second? Look at that. He ran out. Yes, he right when I see, kids. Perfect timing. So I'm not going to tell that story, but let's see. 15 minutes to 3 hours. So there's 5 of you there, so I'll keep talking. So let's see what you guys have been saying. I remember when Q first got cable, that song was out about MTV. Yep. Saint of Chaos. Yep. Freaky. Yep. So does anyone know Mr. V there? Hey, V, come on. You have to say more than hello. If you don't say more than hello. So Fish, do you want to be the manager of the show? And I can make a lot of you, the ones I trust. You, Anthony. Who else is here? Would be good. Jane. Who's Scottish Bishop? Lindsay. Candace. All of you guys would trust with the wrench. So get a hold of me. Let's talk on the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Fish and I talk on the phone because she lives in America and she gave me her phone number and I talked to her. So that's it's getting cold here. I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna pick up the laptop and go sit in front of the heater and see how dinner is coming. The Irish music is playing. Yes. Oh yeah, that's bubbling. That's bubbling. That's good. No, not going to take that chair. That's suicide chair. I'm going to get my more suitable chair. So I'm serious about this. I mean, I had a prophetic dream, and I listen to my prophetic dreams. And it's time for us to, this has been enjoyable, but we have to expand, and it won't be hard. There's so many of us, but those who want to really, do something more fun instead of just their job and cleaning the windows of their house and dusting, let's talk. Remember, get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, right? And if you can throw something in PayPal, come on, all you guys who got a big paycheck, at least $10, I mean, you must spend how much on your Starbucks coffee, just two of those a week, uh, put in the PayPal, and I'd be, you wouldn't have to worry about your Sensei Al, Bob, you know. And I get the least amount of money you can get for Social Security, right? The least. Because I always work for myself. So anyway, and the thing about Social Security or any of those things, they aren't gifts. You paid for it. When Moscow Mitch says, "Why, all the government want to do is start band, and we'll be Europe. Oh, we'll be France. We'll be, Well, France has one of the best healthcare. When I lived in Ireland, when they were piss poor, I had a really infected tooth. And this little town I was in, which I buy this shop. I thought it was like a cheese shop, but it had a tooth out front, right? So once my head was like this big and red and pounding, I said, "Well, I better go check these guys." I went in there, and there were people waiting. There was a nurse behind the desk, thing, door, sliding glass thing, and I walked through the door, and she just looked up at me, picked up the phone, hit the button. "Doctor, you should come out here." And the guy came right out, and he had this little light on his head, and he had his gloves on, and he looked at me. He goes, "Wow, get Bobby to take the X-ray of this kid." So they just kind of, I went right, and these people were all straight into the X-ray room. They took the X-ray, and then he walked me into another like operating kind of room, put me in a chair, and the doctor said, "So, do you ever have nitrous oxide? Do you know what that is?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "Does it bother you?" I said, "No." He said, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yes." So he rolls the tanks over, he puts the thing on my nose, and he goes, "Okay, here's the oxygen, here's the nitrous oxide. You can entertain yourself, and we'll come and take a look and make sure you're not floating on the ceiling or laughing too hard, because we're going to take care of you, but you saw all those people out there, I take care of them, and then I'll come in and take care of you, and then but we'll take care of you. Don't worry. But we have to. That's like really bad." So, he put me on an nitrous oxide, and he put little heads. And so, so this is a piss poor guys, and they took care of me immediately, right? And so, when he first came in, he said, "Okay, so you're feeling no pain." He came back in before the Almond Brothers were over, and he said, "This is a special mix," and he hit me up with this Beyond Novocaine, and he first just a little prick, and I didn't even feel it, and then he said, "Now I'm going to really start going at it like you're a pincushion. It hurts. Just put your hand up. Don't hit me or anything. Just put your hand up." And I said, "Okay." So bing, 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 bing. And I didn't feel anything. And then he kind of went right into that spot, that infection spot, and I saw stars. And I was like, I couldn't even get my hand up. I said, I guess he goes, "That's the spot." And then he went and really juiced it. And my whole friggin' head felt like the ground outside. A gigantic ice cube, I couldn't even blink. And I felt that the tears that were coming out of my eyes were freezing. But then I kind of eased into it. I knew how to meditate, so I just kind of eased into it. And the nitrous oxide definitely helped. And then he came back and he said, "Okay, now normally I would do a root canal, but this thing is so punk, I'm just going to rip it out. The whole thing, right? I'm going to do it surgically so it doesn't bother, because the X-ray shows that the other two teeth on either side aren't compromised yet, right? They're still sealed, they're still fine, they're still healthy. So that's why I'm going to do surgery. I'm going to go in there and take everything out and clean it all out to the bone. We're going to go into the bone, right? And we're going to put a little post in that bone, and then I'm going to put a bridge there. an artificial tooth that will stay there for the rest of your freaking life. And you can have a gold one, or do you want it just to match your teeth? And I said, because your teeth are all going to come out someday anyway, so you might as well put a gold one in, just so, no one's going to see it unless you really show it to them. And that will be the best, because the other ones, the other teeth will turn crappy and not match the shiny white one, but gold, it'll be gold, and that's what it'll be. So I'll put a gold one in. So, and I have that tooth in my wallet. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Okay.
Have a seat. You want anything to eat? I got some good stuff here.
Maybe.
Okay. So I was just telling the story about healthcare and how when I was in Ireland, and did you ever get
Maybe before, but not wanting to die.
Oh man, I had one that my head was like the size of a basketball. It was like, and I was in Ireland, a little town of Ireland, and I walked in the dentist, and they took care of me like that.
Wow.
I had to wait around. They had to do, because they already had people in the waiting room, but they took care of it.
Oh.
And people go, and they have state-run health care.
Oh.
And they said, we could never let the state do it. They'd be terrible at it.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
man, they took care of me. Yep. So are you up for breakfast? You want an egg?
Maybe.
Okay.
Food.
Yeah.
Breakfast, whatever you go.
Yep. So I'm thinking that this is quite nice. This is that vegetable stuff that we had last night. And I'm going to heat that up and then make an egg in it. So I'm going to have the egg with that stuff. So, have you been watching the show?
Here and there, I watched it and turned it off.
John, I saw the apology when you were lying in bed. That was so sweet. I really want to thank you. That was really, really, it just warmed the cockles of my heart. And when I saw him, that guy was lying there and talking, that's the real you. That's the you that's not upset. That's the you that's not, worried about it. You were really, really, and if you could get that to be the guy, you would have no worries. You would be the most successful of whatever you want to do.
After I yelled that time, I fell asleep for 8 hours during the day.
So
I must have not slept enough.
Yeah, of course. That's one of you just need to get your good night's sleep. Did you sleep well?
Yes. I've been asleep for a while. I quit caffeine yesterday.
Good boy.
And so I slept a bunch.
Good. So the more you can sleep and get into that nice Libra balance, you're going to be great. So I was talking about...
I'm trying to finally get my kids back. So I'm talking to
a lawyer.
Well, a lawyer, but I don't want to argue with her. We don't want to go to actual court.
Well,
I want to get the lawyer to write something that says she has to come home.
Well, that's what lawyers are. They talk for you, so you don't have to fight. That's why you get a lawyer. That's what lawyers are about.
But we don't want to go to court and fight.
No, well, then,
I want to amicably decide where we're going to live. And probably here.
Right.
Because there's no house really like this house. I was looking back at some of my old videos.
You're going to have to do something about, and I talked to Tim and Billy, and what's the other guy, the teacher guy with the kids? Durrell. They want to do the road again. It's time to do the road again. And if they bring the guy up, he was going to do it really good for $500. He'll probably do the same. So, and then you won't have to worry. Then Danica and the kids can drive up here, no worries. Right now, not so much. Right? That's the biggest.
Well, we can still.
That road sucks. That road sucks. It has to be fixed up. Yep.
I think it's okay.
Just
my driveway's not that good.
That's what I'm saying. Up to where Doc's road goes up, the road is fine. Actually, pretty good.
Can I turn it on me, or you don't want me to do it?
No, I just did it because
right
here, you can put it on you. Put it on you. Yep. Actually, I'm going to put it over here so we can. Oh. There you are. Fish.
There's like Fish Tennessee or Fish.
Right.
Anthony.
And there's, let's see, what's
that Lana person?
Yeah, Lana.
Oh, she scared me one time.
Yeah, well, she's,
on the phone.
Yeah,
and then, other people.
Yep.
I want to make one more. It doesn't get enough video. It doesn't get enough views. I think I want to get more views, but I'm trying to get my
Guitar.
Yeah.
That's a great video.
Okay.
I mean, really great.
I can put that before our videos and make it not too long.
I mean, that's, but everything about it, you know, and that other one where you have the stick and you're walking through the house and everything looks.
Okay,
Rounded.
maybe it's okay. Maybe it's
Oh,
okay.
it's great.
right
No,
now, really.
I mean, it's only 8 minutes or something. It's not like 8 hours. You know. No, it's a great video.
I've done already, but the thing is making enough money every month.
The thing about it, John, is,
Something that's not sad.
but see, the thing is that the stuff that we do is, it's, as I was telling Anthony, especially the stuff you do, I would call it high art.
High art.
Yes, high art is conceptual art that isn't for the masses. You know?
I think it's for the masses. I think enough to make money at it. Because I can do all kinds of different videos.
Yeah, but you don't. You
I
do.
was gonna do celebrity videos that will get views, like top 10 celebrity videos.
Mhm.
That'll get views, but it feels wrong. Because I miss my kids, so I want to get them here. So I'm working on that. And then I like to do less videos maybe, because the thing that I've been doing is tons of videos. I think you did tons of videos too.
Yeah. I just keep doing it because I do a live chat. I just go live, and it's not editing. It's not, you know, doing anything of that nature. I just do it.
Oh, the camera. I don't know. So there's one lawyer who looks like I get along with him, and I get along with who he would get along with all the other people in my family.
Right.
Like he'd get along with Danica and my parents and stuff. So I get along with, but he's from Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I don't know because he's not in Virginia and I have to move or something. But if he can represent me and help me, I'm going to talk to him and see.
Well, he
But I
may.
don't want to leave. It'd be a shame to leave here. How special this house is,
But,
or
you
was.
know,
at one time.
lawyers know.
And
lawyers-
now, I don't know. I guess
He
it's
might
still
know a
people.
lawyer in Virginia. If you get along with him, he might have a friend
Yeah.
who's a lawyer that he could recommend.
So I want to get someone to write a letter and say she has to come home.
Right. You
And then
need
we can-
is what is known as representation.
Yeah. Or I can just, the other thing is I think I was supposed to just go to Texas.
That's what I've been saying.
But I don't know.
And I'd be glad to go with you, buddy. Be your entourage.
Look, man. Oh, no.
What?
I was going to do it, so I was going to act like
You can do whatever you want. You can be Obama. You can go be Obama. You can do whatever you want.
He's becoming more likable. He's so weird. He's like Michael Jackson. Like Michael Jackson's likable again almost. He's like so weird. It's like, what the heck?
Well, you know, Michael Jackson was sweet. Really was. But he wrote a good song, man.
I was gonna be like Eminem or something. Nah, out of my hair, Eminem. I forgot that I had blonde hair. I was gonna make a.
Didn't Eminem
I
have
was gonna
blonde
start
hair?
rapping like it was like some orchestra song. Look, and I was gonna do an orchestra, but it turned off right when I walked in. It sounds like a fake laugh while you're trying to get along with it here. Hey,
I didn't laugh.
yeah.
I didn't even laugh. You needn't have a fake laugh.
Oh. Well, I guess not. Are you making that
Yeah, making it.
for
us.
For us? Okay.
Yep. It'll be
I may
ready.
eat it or not. I might go upstairs.
No, come on, stay down.
Oh, stay down here.
Here, John. You want a piece of cheese?
Not really. I don't know why. When I came down here, I was hungry, but up there. But
I'm gonna have this ready.
okay, maybe I'll have a piece of cheese. I'll get one. I got a good piece. Are you angry that I took the good piece
No,
instead of the used
no,
piece?
I'm not angry. I brought it out so you could eat. No problem.
I don't even really want this. But you touched the other one. You're about to kind of touch the other one. That's okay. I'll go upstairs.
You don't have to dance. I'm making you food. I'll be ready soon. John has some real issues about food. All I can do is my best. Ba-ba.
Hey,
Hey, handsome, what's up?
yeah, I just came back from, I was helping some people, man, they have problems.
Yeah, but you did a good thing. That's a good thing. So we're live on the internet, and you're my guest. This is,
Am I your guest?
yeah, you're a guest, a live guest. Yep.
Holy smoke.
Yes. This
Well, I had a stage fright, baby.
no, come on. Just tell the audience when we first met. So what did we meet? I knew we were at the gathering that was in Tennessee, but we met before that one. Truck and I was camping out and you camped out next to me near the
Yes, but that was at the gathering, wasn't that?
Yeah, that was that guy. That was the Tennessee guy. But I thought we met before then.
I don't recall that, sir.
Okay, so we met there. So
Okay.
we met on the road or something, and I say I'm camping over here, and you brought all him and all your stuff over there. So that's how that worked, right?
That's how it was. Yes.
Yeah, yes. So tell him the story.
Well, I can tell you, you're the coolest cat on both sides of Mississippi. Well, I can tell him the story how you help heal all those people, man. You're like a magnet.
I had my hammocks up, and I was adjusting everyone's chi, and this gathering was like built in a garbage dump. It was kind of a trashy place, and there were tons of cops, and they got to camp in a place that was really nice. Remember, by the lake, and they had the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yes, the taxpayer, and they paved the road so their cars could come right up to our front door, and but the site itself was a garbage dump.
Yeah, well, yeah, that wasn't the best site.
No, and they had no drinking water whatsoever. It had been a drought. And so, and when we got there, when you showed up, it wasn't the 4th yet. It was still like maybe 800 people there, right? It wasn't like the thousands, right?
It was not in full bloom.
Right. And I got a really great parking spot, like right at the gate, right there. I didn't have to, all I had to do was kind of walk on the main drag. And I walked in and they did this, not on purpose, but at a gathering, did you go to the West Virginia gathering? That was a year before.
No, I didn't go to that.
Did you?
I was in Europe.
And what was how many gatherings did you go to before you went to that one?
I would say before that probably about 10.
Okay.
But I've been about 15 national, about maybe 10 regional.
Did you ever go to the Pennsylvania gathering?
Yes, I went there, sir. Yeah. I still think about one thing. How did all these people find you? I mean, what I want to say is all those people who needed help, somehow they ended up with you. We really were able to adjust them a little bit.
So they could,
And I was amazed how they found you.
Well, I'll tell you how it is that I had been going to, started, which was right after Woodstock. Woodstock was like the first Rainbow Gathering. And about 2 years later, 72 or 3 or 4, there was one. And a guy named Garrick Beck is like the historical godfather of that. He's one of the high hippie holies. And he and I have been buds since ever. We're both New Yorkers. His father and mother ran the Living Theater, and I was in the theater thing. So I know Garrick a long time. And so he finally said, "Oh, you got to come to this. You'll be great." Blah blah blah. So I finally did, and they were. The early ones were really great because we were way in the woods. No one drove. There were no buses. It was just everyone was light on the land. It was beautiful, right? And
digital evolution changed a lot of things,
and sharing and all of the above.
Right? Yes, sir.
Right.
And I remember 15, 20 years ago. I mean, from those lists, everybody you would hear all night long. We love you. Come here. We have pizza. We have this and that. Those things they're changing, my friend.
Right. And everything was free, and now like they almost want to charge.
Right. Exactly.
And so, and the other things was, it wasn't so much drugs or partying. It was more about the sharing of love's co-creation. It was more about prayer and meditation, and everyone was giving classes, and you could learn how to do yoga and do this and do that. It was truly quite an amazing kind of thing.
See, you mentioned classes. That's the first thing I was thinking about along the same line. Why no advertising? Hey, class, this class.
And there'd be all these kitchens, and all the kitchens. Everyone would sit around the fire, play music, tell stories, share their boo. It was just amazing.
Yes. And now the kids are different nowadays. Before, man, I remember Krishna.
Right.
Not that smart or that. Mushrooms.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Not magic mushrooms, but the regular mushrooms.
Right.
So, me being a peasant when I was a kid, so morning, I would go to collect the mushroom, at the gathering, and I would give it to different kitchens. One morning, I was collecting mushrooms, and I see something funny, man. It didn't look like a mushroom, but it was like a mushroom. So, I look at that, I have an idea what that could be. And I'm thinking to myself, this is impossible. This cannot be. I'm deep in the woods. This cannot be. Guess what it was? Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. I can't understand what you said. It's a
It
what?
was a freaking dildo, baby.
Oh, dildo. I get you. A dildo in the woods.
No, there's more to that. Now, hold on, I probably there's more. So, I'm thinking, no, listen. I have to I'll take this thing with me and find a happy guy or girl who lost it, okay? So I take it in my bag, I keep collecting mushrooms. I come across another one.
Another dildo?
Okay, I swear to God, man, this is no, there's more to it. So I keep walking. Guess what?
Another dildo.
So the fourth one was a double-headed monster. No. So I swear to God, it was a double-headed monster, black, big freaking thing, man. Black. I fucking put this in my bag. Look at this. So get this. I come back to the camp, walking around. I see. No, this is funny part. So I come across four middle-aged, needy ladies. So I said, ladies, I have a gift for you. No. So they look at me. What kind of a gift that would be? I mean, this is not a big deal. We'll take it. This is not a big deal.
Right.
So I come over there, show them my goodies. They freaking almost want to faint. They said, get away from us, you freaking parrot. Get lost. So I see this lady walking. So I go my way. So I see this lady walking on the path all by herself. I said, lady, listen, you want to help out? She says, what? I said, I have this thing here. So I don't want to be a freaking sick motherfucker parrot. Why don't you come with me? Give me a little more credentials, a little more credence, and you see if you can sell this thing. So we go around having fun with that thing, and I go to the what do you call it? Information.
Right.
I go to the information, put those 4 dildos on the table. Everybody they step back for 2 steps, 3 steps. They step back. They look at me. They say, oh no, he's dead. But before going on my way, going to the information desk, there was a kitchen. This is very interesting, but there was a kitchen. The kitchen was run by a young couple, a younger guy. I didn't see them before. I don't know the name of the kitchen. So I told them, listen, I found this very strange thing. They asked me, we stopped for coffee, me and that lady that I picked up on the way, along the way. We were drinking coffee. They said, where are you going? I said, I go to the information desk. What's up? What do we want to know? I said, I found something. I want to give it to them. So get this.
Because the information desk is also lost and found.
But listen, but the guy who runs the kitchen, he says, he looks at me. He's a young man. They have 2 kids. Young couple, they have 2 kids. He says, what did you find? You didn't find some dildo. I look at the freaking guy. I said, yes, that's exactly what I found. He said, don't tell me you found a bunch of them. I said, that's what I found. So the guy, it might be in my head. It just might be in my head. He looks at his wife, he looks at his wife, and they don't say anything. So, I got the information desk. I unload that thing fucking on the information desk table. Everybody steps back. I said, listen, I don't want to sound like a weirdo, but this thing is looking for its rightful owner. Okay.
A home for the
I want
dildo.
to leave it here, and you advertise, find the rightful owner. I want to see happy people here. I don't want to see anybody unhappy here. So I leave it there. I go on my way, and a few nights later, I walk. It was dark night, and something was moving in the grass across the road.
Right.
Okay, I was walking. It was dark. I didn't have the flashlight. So something was moving, man, in the grass. I see closer, I get closer, and there was a camp across that road. The camp was called Bats and Figs. Okay? So the people who were running there, they adapted those dildos, and that's how they were smelling people to come for coffee.
By giving
So I
dildos?
got coffee, then I told him I was the person who went. So that's the end of the story, man. At least dildos found their rightful home, baby.
You found the home for the dildos.
Very fine. It's a happy ending story.
Right.
I like that.
Yep. And gang, that is the Rainbow Gathering right there.
That's rainbow gathering for you. Magic.
Yep. Yep, it's totally magic.
Oh my God.
So how people would find me at the gathering? You asked that question. I said how people would find me. You said you couldn't believe how all those people showed up. Was that, you know, a center it's like the hospital there. So because the Rainbow Gatherings, like 20,000 people come together in the forest for 2 weeks, and you get 20,000 people there. People break their arms, you know, have babies, all kind of stuff. So a calm is a place. Water.
Yes.
Water is a great guy, and he
Great, sir.
I mean, honest. And the guy who ran Kitty Village, what was his name? He was Hispanic. What was his name?
No. Oh, you were talking. That's not a gypsy guy. That gypsy guy.
Right. Gypsy guy. Yep. And so virtually everyone has a rainbow name, right?
Yeah.
And so when I first went there, Garrick was dating this woman named Joni Freedom, and she was like one of the high hippie holies, meaning she didn't really do too much. It was her. And Garrick was living with her. That they were like a couple, and she went to represent the Rainbow Gathering in Arizona, and somebody picked her up at the airport. And it was a girl in a Ford Econoline van, and Joni gets in. They driving down the highway doing about 70, and one of the wheels blows right off the van, and the van just goes boom, boom, boom. Now the girl is sitting in the driver's seat. She got her safety belt on. Joni's just sitting in the back, and the van door slides open as the van is tumbling down the highway. Joni goes out the door, and the door slams on her leg. And then the van rolls over on her 5 times.
Oh, man.
So
I didn't know that.
So she was like a crushed, guava melon. And Garrick was there, but he wasn't in the van. The van was bringing Joni to Garrick because they were doing some court scene. Somebody got arrested, and they were going to go help the brother or sister out. So anyway, she ends, and it's in this place in Arizona where the Air Force has their super duper fighter school. And these guys fly around the deserts between the mountains, and every so often they smash into a mountain doing like 700 miles an hour, which is exactly what Joni experienced with having the van roll on her about 5 times. And so she was a lucky girl because she got crushed right where this hospital was, and the ambulance that came and got her took her straight to the one place on the planet that could stick her back together. And do you know what a halo is?
Yeah, I know halo.
Halo is this thing that when you break all your bones in your body, instead of putting you in a cast, there are these circular things that are different shapes that go around you, and they screw these rods through the halo into your body to keep.
Oh man, that's halo. I thought it was something else.
No, that's a halo.
And so she had them, her whole body had about 20 of these things. And she was in this bed that those halos attached to. So there was equal tension on every bone so they could all heal together and she wouldn't look weird. And so she had to be in that thing for at least a month, right? And Joni is not the happiest girl. I mean, she just screams and yells and gets upset about almost anything. She's like a Jewish, you know what a Jewish princess is?
Yeah.
She's a Jewish American princess.
We're talking about what's his Frank Zappa?
Yeah, exactly. Spoiled brat, right?
Okay.
But she's like 20 something, 30 something. Anyway, so she's in this situation, and Derek was just before he was going to say one day. I have about 5 days and Davids in my life, and they're all like this guy. I'm as tight with all of them. Anyway, there's something about Davids, but anyway, so Joni, and I go, well, I don't know. And no. And he explains the story. And he says, she's at this amazing place and they're taking great care of her, but she's driving them crazy and they're just going to kick her out. Gigs on the horizon. And Dave said, let's road trip. So Garrick boys, she up the airplane. Garrick picked main important joints like in her backbone where her central nervous system is. Let's take some x-rays of that and just make sure that there's nothing rubbing against anything. And these other ones, the ankles and the... So anyway, long story short, after about a week, we get her out together. And so, what's the first gathering you went to?
4 or 5 or so.
Right. So this one was in 80, something like 84, 83. Well, she gets a wheelchair and put, things so they can carry her. So she gets carried everywhere like an Egyptian princess. We go visit Com. She introduces me to them. And we talk. That's very nice. And so they had a school bus, the school bus parking lot, So they have a school bus. And so it's about the 4th day I'm there. And we're having a great time. As people come to visit her, she says, oh, yeah, this is what happened. Because everyone knows the story of that she was near. It's helping. And that's why there are all these kitchens and all these, groups of people like Nick at Night, which is these guys who put on shows. And he was trying to find a home for the dildos, right? He was doing his best. So he was emblematic of the best thing about the Rainbow Gathering. He was
community service, baby.
A community service. So that day I'm walking around, just having a grand old time, and I hit every kitchen, and I said, "Can I help?" And the guy, Mexico, I think, and did it. Around the hippie folk, he did his own thing. If you were blown up and your arms and limbs were in different places, that first day when I went to all those kitchens, I have a place in a camp that's like that or near it. But you came, like the main drag off the main road was like a dump. And you went up this hill and the big meadow was like a dump. And it wasn't a big meadow, it was kind of a small meadow. But it was surrounded by trees, which was a good thing. And I put up a hammock there and had like a satellite medical tent there that I would go hang out in. And I was camped out near. And so when you went into the goat town, it was really cool in that you came up the main drag and you went up this hill that overlooked the meadow. And then it wasn't like bramble. It was, a good, football fields away where we all work together and it's no big deal. It's loads of fun. This place was annoying. So that's why I was a good football field away. And it was really beautiful because it came down this hill of really greenery and then you came into this shithole of a camp. And about 100 yards before that, there was a little trail that kind of went the back way over to Nick at Night. It was almost 400 pounds, really big. And that's when I was working for the Desperate Lawyers and, I was living the high life. And I was kidding myself that there was nothing wrong.
So listen. Oh, really? You were kidding yourself at the time?
Yeah. I mean, remember, my feet were rotting off my body. Meaning,
Yeah, I remember that.
my
So
feet were.
You didn't think it was like a problem at the time, right?
Right, right. But that were more energetic and mental, but still physical. And like he says, all these people just kept coming and coming. And so I'd been doing this for 10 years, so everyone knew it. And once they knew where I was, the guys from, and on the good side of it, the guys that come, like Water would come visit me every day and make sure my legs weren't going septic, and Chief Two Trees kept bringing salves and things so that's why my feet actually got better. I mean, they got
So
warm.
to help you financially to make it, my promise, this coming gathering. So I know this coming gathering, I'll help you if you need help. No problem, man.
So
Because we really need you now.
they really needed me. But it pissed me off so much. Like, I'll tell the West Virginia gathering, which was maybe a year or two before the one in Tennessee where I met you, right?
Yeah.
So I went to that because it wasn't that far. I was in Roanoke at the time. And it was only maybe less than 100 miles. And so I went there, and they had it there before. It was a nice enough site, but it was a big, open site. Did you go to that one?
For a while, for a few years, so I didn't go to
right, and that was probably so
it was a big bad wolf. Okay, he had all those tattoos, and I said more because people from Samoa and Guam and Hawaii. So I'm sitting there. Actually, I'm still standing there. Calculate. There must be at least 700,000 US dollars. And with that money, you can buy president and vice president in Kenya. Right. So this guy, I mean, on both sides of him, the money keeps coming. Both sides of him, money is piling up. He keeps putting more money. He's going on here. What is this? So the money stops coming. The guy stood up, takes out the bag. The bag comes up to his chin, almost up to his chin. It's a big leather bag with a big zip, and he has a lock. So the freaking guy keeps stashing his thing. The bag is full. The bag is freaking full. He locks it, he zips it, locks it, puts it on his back. It's about a foot above his head, and it's about a foot above the freaking ground. I said, what is going on? There must be some kind of a monkey business. It was washing money, or it was some kind of a mafia business. So I watched as he goes out. I see two bank employees. They follow him. And he sits in the car all gone. And I was thinking, freaking, if you're in my country, if you're in the US, if you're any place on earth, this thing will never happen. But I don't know Africa, how do we play? I don't know, I cannot keep entertaining, man. Where's the main host? Okay, he abandoned the post, man. That's called the dereliction of duty.
okay.
Oh!
Yeah, baby. I'm right here.
Well, did you abandon your post, man? I cannot.
I had to get my laptop is
dereliction of duty. You know that, right?
yeah, but you got enough stories. You keep going.
No, I don't get paid enough for this, man. You better throw me a few steps. I don't get paid.
So you tell him about your
your show needs, man.
tell him about your channel.
It's called To Shock, Amaze, and Amuse. With a Z. Amuse with a Z.
Right.
And you people can see my travels, and you can see some weird stuff. Okay,
I mean, this guy, man. So, how many trips do you think you take a year?
3 every year.
You do more than that.
No, I mean 3. When I say 3, I mean 3 of the.
Yeah, he's a traveling man.
Almost 6 o'clock.
Okay, John, no problem.
And I will probably go on about 8. But this thing should be up by then.
So what is it going to be called?
It's the most recent one. Meaning,
Okay.
I can't even see what I called it. It's something like 2022. What are you gonna do? And because
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
something, I don't know if that's it, but it's something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, buddy.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
I love you.
Bye.
Yep. So there you go, kids. There it is. That is my friend David. And you heard Anthony. Who else can I call? What? No thumbs up? Oh, 8 thumbs up. Okay. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
And there he is.
Hello.
Hello, buddy.
Hi.
So you're live on Dreamy Dreamland.
Are you broadcasting?
Yeah, I'm broadcasting.
Okay.
So what did you
Hold
think?
on.
What did you think of those things I sent you? What did you think of that Robin Williams stuff I sent you?
Hold on. I'm going to go out here where I can hear you, okay?
Okay.
Oh, for crying out loud. Now someone else is calling me. Isn't that weird?
When you're popular, you're popular.
Oh, yeah. God, I'm okay, come on, kitty. Yeah, wait, you sent me something? I haven't had a chance to. What did you send me? I'm sorry. Can you refresh my
Well, I sent you a whole bunch of stuff from my stream, but the one thing I stumbled over was Robin Williams, the comedian, right?
Yeah.
And he was on. There's a show. I don't know if it's still on, but it's the Scottish guy who took the Late Show on CBS. That what's his name did.
Oh, is his name Ferguson?
Yes, the Ferguson,
Okay.
right? That guy, and he and Robin Williams are good buddies, and they've been in comedy about as long. So they knew they didn't. The censor is right there, and like every story they told, at least 3 words for each of them had to be blooped out. And they made fun of every social racial group on the planet.
Oh yeah.
Deaf people, crippled people, you name it. They were just going at it and there was this one crippled guy who was blind and deaf, and someone was he was getting it over the Braille device in his wheelchair, and he was laughing so hard he was pissing himself.
Hey, now speaking of that, have you ever seen there's a guy, he's got a channel, I think it's on BitChute. There's a guy named Ricky Berwick. Have you ever seen him?
No.
Oh, he's sort of this little hunchback guy but he's funny as hell. He just does these little 30-second videos where he'll think of some goofy shit, and then he'll anyway, check out Ricky Berwick sometime.
Can you send me the link?
Well, I'm on my phone. I can't do that right now, but
No, I don't mean
later.
this minute. I mean next time you think about it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I had to work today, and I got up early. Then I tuned in, and you were having an interesting conversation with somebody a while back.
Right.
An hour or 2 ago.
Yeah, I'm going on 4 hours here. So.
Wow, you and your marathons.
Yep.
What the hell?
It'd be, I wish I could do as good as Jerry Lewis and make some money here.
Well, I was thinking something like that, sort of a transcendental. What was I thinking about? Metamorphic metaphors, transcendental telethon or something
Right.
like
Okay.
that.
I like that. Metamorphic metaphors, transcendental telethon. Yep. You heard it first here, kids. Remember.
Hey, I forgot to tell you.
Yes?
I had a dream about you a few nights ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was that you. I don't know that you came here and then we met and then you were already off.
I was already what?
But you're not as tall as I. You're a little taller than me, but not very much. Anyway, just it was like part of a dream, like
Right.
oh, and cast of characters, and you were in it.
Oh, not good.
Yeah. Oh, for crying out loud! Now she's calling me again. Hey, maybe I should.
I'm going to go back on later tonight. Why don't I call you back later?
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, I'll call you back later. I'm going to probably go on around 8-ish, so I'll call you back around then.
All righty then.
All righty then. Okay, let's try Dave. David, my other Dave friend. To me at thedudewake42@gmail, right? There we go. Let's see if this David answers. He's not answering. He usually answers me pretty quick.
Oh, you've reached David at F. Flannel.
So anyway, let's see. Let's try. He's gaga for all things Batman. Oh, how about Tim? That should be a good guy. Tim Time. He and I go back at least 15 years from Lynchburg, when I lived in Lynchburg, in B-Town. What is it? I have no signal? Is that what it is? Or maybe not enough juice. Yeah, there seems to be no signal on the, just barely a bar. Well, I'm going to hang that up. Oh, there's me. Hi, Bob. I found your channel a long time ago when you did your talk on Irish Crone. I've been following you ever since. Fish. Oh, okay. So good, V. I didn't bop you off. You came out as a human. And as a, where do you live? What do you do? What makes you happy? What do you think about things that are here now? What do you get out of Dreamy Dreamland? What do you think of it to be? So, Lynn, you want to get on the bus? You want to you be part of the band that goes across the world to have a good time and change the universe? Because 2022 is going to be like all of the 60s and 70s rolled up in one year. Hmm. There's only one of you left. Don't know what's up with the cell phone. Should have. We're top of the mountain. We usually get 4 bars easy. Like I said, 2022, internet, everything electronic is going to go bye-bye. All right. Well, I think this is as good a time as any. We're into 4 hours, so I'm going to shut down the telephone for 2 hours. Around 8 o'clock, I'm going to come back. Yeah, about 8 o'clock, about 2 hours. So, just listening. Okay. So, what do you think about what you just listened to? Do you like the new call-in format? And Lynn, can we talk on the phone? Do you live in America, or do you use WhatsApp or any of the above? Like Anthony said, I need a moderator. I need more than one. I think you, Anthony, Fish, Lola would be good for the job. Not just one of you, but a bunch of you. So between the 4 of you, you're always here. You're the dependables. No, I like dependables too. What do you think of our new friend V? Sure, Oklahoma. So get a hold of me, Lynn. Talk to me on the email, right? The dudewake42@gmail, right? So, yeah. So, just leave your number. Keep an eye on it. I sometimes lose my way on my email because I have a big, tall stream of stuff coming in from people who know me, know that I'm doing this, and send me stuff to tell you about. I'm always playing things from my phone. So anyway, that's the story. So give me, put it down. I'm going to quit for 2 hours. If you put it on the dudewake42@gmail, I'll go look at it now and give you a buzz. And we'll do this. Okay. And we can talk. We can talk about art. We can talk about things to come and what you's doing. What you's doing. Right? Okay. I think I'm going to pack it in. Okay. stop it right there. All right.